Homer led the league in tackles with 85. The deep ball for Darius Prince, and Philadelphia's on the board first.
On the draw, this is Bryson Allen. And Allen weaving his way all the way down to the 22.
10-yard line, 5. Mayfield, dancing all around. Throwing as far as he can throw it. Jump ball coming. Crazy stuff. Not this time.
And you want to be a wide receiver. You're going to have to take a little bit of a hit like that as Brown got him in that shoulder, but watch. Those are teeth.
Do we have a dentist on staff here?
Good morning and welcome back to Around the Indoor Football World, where we touch on subjects from the NAL, the AF1, the IFL, and the TAL, as well as the AIF occasionally when there's news from them as well. But anyway, we're back for another episode to discuss quite a bit of things. And today I think we're going to be touching heavily on a couple different subjects, specifically expansion and the AF1 championship game, which just concluded last weekend. So without further ado, my trusty co-hosts have joining me today. I've got TJ Bartholomew below me and Krish Vyas next to me. How you guys doing this morning?
Good. How about yourself?
I cannot complain. Little tired. Don't know how you guys feel after 4th of July last night, but definitely ready to talk some indoor football. That's for sure. How did your guys' holidays go?
Hey, another day, hanging with the family and shooting off some fireworks.
Yeah, no, it definitely went well. Good to spend time with family after this big win. Good to be back in the playoffs. So that's all that matters at the end of the day. Right?
Love it. Just so you guys know,
they handled that one-win team fantastically. Yes.
Just in case you guys have not watched this show yet, Krish is a huge Massachusetts fan, so you're probably going to be hearing throughout the show little snippets about how Mass won this weekend, the entire show. So hope you guys don't mind. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, we're going to be talking on a lot of subjects, but primarily a lot of expansion type subjects, as well as some franchises potentially moving from one league to another. Some things like that, but we're going to save TIL for the very end, and we're going to touch on specifically IFL, NAL, and AF1 first. Do you guys have a preference which league we start with? Alrighty, well, let's get into the AF1 first then. This past week, I think it was during the championship game actually, Jeff Fisher came out and said that there would be 2 expansion franchises joining the league for the 2026 season. He listed at the time Michigan and Ohio. We've gotten some information over the past week or so, and we believe there's actually possibly a scenario where there's not an expansion team in Ohio, but a team relocating to Ohio. And it sounds like it's probably specifically Cincinnati. And then also it sounds like Detroit is the city for the Michigan team. So, we talked a little bit about both these cities last weekend, but I wanted to revisit this because we have a little bit more information now. What are you guys' thoughts on potentially having a team back in Detroit, Michigan? Let's go to TJ first.
Hey, I don't really have any problem with it. They have a history there. They had the Drive and the Fury at one point there. I do like how they're trying to find ways to get teams back to, we'll say, the legacy areas. But hopefully they've also, that either the league or the new ownerships that are taking the teams there, learned from previous regime mistakes and are able to do better and last this time around. That's my only hope. You know, but other than that, I mean, I'm just happy to see that teams are showing interest in the league and that they are expanding slowly but surely. And, this past season was a huge improvement from the year before. So I'm hoping for yet another step forward in a positive direction next season as well.
Completely agree. Krish, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's funny because about a year ago, Coach Manas, when he was with San Antonio, said that a couple groups from Michigan reached out to him about possibly owning a team, and he had actually met with them and toured them around. And one of the groups was from Detroit, the area, so they went and visited arenas. And so you have to think maybe is that the same ownership group? It's kind of interesting if you think about that. And it's great to have big cities. I think big cities are great. Small markets is what makes arena football, but having big cities also, it helps balance it out a little bit. So I hope, Detroit and Cincinnati, I really hope, they have good arenas, good setup. I mean, I see the Michigan Panthers, their support has steadily increased, year after year. So I wonder how heavily, how the marketing approach will be different for this Detroit team compared to the Michigan Panthers.
That's a good point. I mean, I think honestly, no matter where you're going in, what league you're playing in, the marketing game has to be on point for these bigger markets, and in order for you to get a foothold. In a place like Detroit, there's just so many other things going on that you could choose to spend your money on. That in order to really get a crowd up, you're going to have to be everywhere. At every corner, they're going to have to see something for that team. So that's going to be an interesting facet to follow along with, specifically in this, because that's going to make or break the team at the end of the day, whether or not they're able to make it. And so that's definitely a good point. And I'm glad you brought that up. And Michigan Panthers are a good indication that there are fans there that are open to alternative football. And, they're not going to turn their nose up at it by any stretch, but at the same time, it has taken time to get where they're at right now with the Panthers fan base. So it's not necessarily going to be an overnight success either, which, the whole other question here is, can they manage to sustain financially until they can get to a point where the fan base starts to catch up and get to the point where they're getting enough fans in the building to really turn a profit. Excuse me. Any other thoughts on any of that, on Detroit specifically, before we move on to the other piece of information I dropped a little bit ago?
I mean, ultimately, they are choosing probably the best time ever to do it as well, because with the way the Lions have been playing lately as well, like football is on a rise in Michigan. I think it's like a resurgence because now they actually have something to cheer for.
You have a good point. And, honestly, if you wanted to look at the Panthers again, they were a pretty solid team all year long. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if you find success, Detroit's probably going to support you as far as, success on the field, that is. So that might be something to follow along with too. Do they come in and try and, for lack of a better term, try to buy some respect right out the gate with fan base, and spend some money on some veteran players and go that route, which could be a way to market your team as well. So it's, like I said, a lot of facets on this that are going to be interesting to follow over the next year. But I do like the fact that this news is coming out now, when we're almost a full calendar year until next season. So they have plenty of time to get out there, hit the ground running, hopefully find sponsorships, and do a lot of the things that are really going to make them be around long term, which we'll talk a little bit more about here shortly. But the next piece of information that I mentioned a moment ago is that the team in Cincinnati could actually be a team that's relocating and not necessarily an expansion team, which opens up some more questions if you only gain one new team for 2026. But the rumor is that Corpus Christi will be relocating to Cincinnati, Ohio. Again, that's a rumor, has not necessarily been confirmed per se, but it sounds like that's the direction that's trending. Any thoughts on this one specifically? This one kind of caught me off guard. I'm not sure why you would want to relocate after 2 straight seasons of being in Corpus Christi, but we'll go to Krish first on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think maybe local ties with the ownership group, could be. I mean, for me, I hope they keep the whole coaching staff. I've expressed I'm a huge Coach A. Anderson fan. I think he did a great job with that team despite everything. So I really hope they keep him. And I think, like I said, when he gets a big market team, I think he can do something real special. So that's just my thing on it. And, Cincinnati's a good market. Obviously, there's some, skepticism. Obviously, when you bring up a name like that, past ties and whatever. But I think it can work. I really do. I think if they have the right structure in place, I think the AF1 has good leadership now compared to last year, obviously. So I think it can work. And if Corpus Christi has all the resources, they can transfer over a lot of those. And obviously the cost would be higher. It's a bigger market. Ohio has a bigger worker comp cost than Texas does. But at the end of the day, these are still resources. So instead of starting from the ground up, you have a foundation that you can build with.
That's a good point too. Yeah, there's going to be less of an upfront cost to make this move happen because, like you said, they've already got the walls, they've got the field, Jesus Christ, the field goal poles and all that stuff is already on hand. So that's something that they're gonna, not necessarily have to spend right away. So it's a little bit different than being an expansion team entirely. However, my big question is where are they going to play? I don't know a ton about the Drive or the Fury per se, but are there arenas that are going to be reasonably priced in terms of rent for these teams to come out and then be able to succeed long term? But TJ, what are your thoughts on this relocation or potential relocation of Corpus Christi to Cincinnati?
I agree with Krish. It has to probably do with ownership. We all know that they had struggles this past season. It was kind of the luckily not. I'm not going to say a major stain on the season, but if there was any dirt brought up, it was definitely that situation. However, they were able to limp through the season and make it, so that's awesome. But if they do relocate, it's probably part of either new ownership that they brought in and things like that. But again, it's Cincinnati's kind of like a legacy area. So, I mean, if you're going to relocate, I do like the area. And again, it's kind of the same thing as Detroit. With Joe Burrow and stuff coming in, the Bengals have kind of, spiked in popularity. They were just in the Super Bowl a few years ago. So, expectations there are high and, maybe they're hitting it at the perfect, kind of football frenzy time, just like with Detroit. Both of these teams could be instant successes, depending on how they market and plan it. And like you said before, both these teams announcing that this is going on with ample time. They can spend the entire offseason marketing, getting community support, being out there in the community once they start getting players and rosters together and stuff. They can really do this right and succeed long term. I just hope they do take the proper steps.
Completely agree. That's definitely one of the caveats here is big markets are great. Everybody wants them in their league. But if they're done incorrectly, we've seen, how things can go poorly. A team like Carolina comes to mind recently, playing in Greensboro Coliseum, where it was, really cost prohibitive to actually stick around and be a successful franchise for the long term when you don't have immediate support or, enough to the point where it's kind of helping you break even during those games. Things become really tough as an indoor football franchise when you're not making money on home games. So that's a huge caveat here that I think that a lot of people have to consider. If they think they're going to have more of a market in Cincinnati, maybe this is partially due to sponsorships and some of the sponsor base down in Corpus Christi is burnt and they really don't want to come back to the team. So that's another caveat here that could be affecting this decision to ultimately move to Cincinnati as well. So I like what you said, TJ, about them trying to bring back some of these legacy markets. Cincinnati, Detroit, both of them have like a long history of having indoor football. So do you guys think that we see the return of one of those, legendary team names like the Detroit Drive or the Fury, or is this going to be a new entity completely in both cities? Let's go to TJ first on this one.
I would love to see some just nostalgic names come back, but I feel like they'll choose just a new franchise or a new name just to differentiate themselves, from the AFL, especially after the debacle last season. They kind of made it very clear early on with the move to the AF1 name that they were disassociating themselves. So for them to kind of go back and almost reverse what they said and then suddenly bring back these old team names would be a little surprising. But yeah, I think they're probably going to just go completely fresh, new, and just try and, again, get the fan base and the community behind them.
I could see that. I could definitely see that as well. A couple comments here from Wookie. Thank you for tuning in, buddy. We appreciate it. He says Corpus Christi is a tough market to be in, which is very true. It's kind of an out of the way type situation where the travel isn't exactly easy for any team currently. Cincinnati has a bunch of college arenas. That's a good point. So maybe they could keep costs down right there rather than going to one of the rather large arenas. And then we also have Detroit, yes, but Cincinnati doesn't have too much history in the AFL, AF2. Every team there was short-lived. That's fair. You're definitely right. But for the record, you could always go to a team name like the Gladiators. I know it's from Cleveland, not Cincinnati, but that's really well known in Ohio. So that could be a situation where, we see them go that route. Just a thought, but another piece of potential relocation / expansion news is Steven Titus has put up his Billings Outlaw condo for sale. So he is potentially moving out of Billings. He might just be moving somewhere new in Billings. We don't know. But, that immediately ignited speculation after this entire season where he has spent a lot of time voicing how difficult it is for the team to exist in Billings, Montana, and voicing his concerns about the lack of support from the city, the state, to make it easier for them to operate there. So what do you guys think? I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this. Is this a sign of things to come? Is this a sign that the Outlaws are gone? TJ, I don't want to twist the knife, man. I know you're a huge Outlaws fan, but what do you think? Is this a sign of the Outlaws leaving?
Bye-bye birdie, man. That's it. No, it doesn't solidify things, but it's definitely not looking good. Why would you give up your Billings loft if you have no intention of ever really coming back or staying over in the Billings area ever again? Kind of leads to that. Then you look at the rumors before about, potentially being interested in selling the team if the right opportunity comes and everything else, so nothing is set in stone, but it's definitely in heavy favor of they're probably if they're not gone, he as the owner is definitely in the process of being out with some of the moves that are being made.
I like your point there. He did at one point mention, that there was a potential of him selling the team. And maybe that's what we're seeing here. Maybe he's already moved on, or maybe he's in the process of finalizing a deal to move on, and selling the team to another owner. And then that opens up further questions. Does he go and then launch another team? Is this a kind of a convoluted way for the league to get some form of expansion done, while at the same time not necessarily having to bring in a new team? So, there's a lot of different things that could be going on here that just make this whole situation even more confusing and kind of interesting to follow. But I personally am of the belief that this is a sign of things to come. So, Krish, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, I'll start back with the the names, right? I think you look at the Empire when they switched to the Firebirds, right? How their attendance increased. Their attendance went up 400%, right? And so when you bring back a new name that the community is familiar with, it's really good and they'll gravitate towards it. It'll bring back older fans. It'll connect more to a diverse population of a fan base rather than just, concentrating on the newer generation. Bring back some of the older fans, right? Because those are the ones who are paying for the tickets and the season tickets. That's what I noticed. I noticed a lot of older fans. Those are the ones who are paying for the season tickets and the merch and the other things. So you definitely want, to tap in with that population of your fan base. But I think, Steven Titus has moved on. He hates Billings. I mean, he's made that vocal many times. He does not like Billings. He does not like the arena, the mayor. I don't think the community is treating him right at all. Just from what I see from him, he put a lot into this team. And so, especially when they won a championship, that's when the community should have stepped up and really embraced him, and they just didn't. So it's time to move on. And I think, they're moving to Colorado. I mean, I've said this from the beginning. I really believe that Billings is moving to Colorado. That makes the most sense to me. Maybe Denver. But, it's done. It's over for Billings. And I'm kind of skeptical, too. If they sell the team, what kind of product would they put out on the team? Because it won't be what they had this year, right? It won't be as competitive. I know, TJ, I know you guys missed the playoffs, but still, you guys were competitive at the end of the day. Like, towards the end of the season, you guys were very, very competitive. You almost beat Southwest Kansas. But it's like, I think I don't want to see the team come back and then just be a bunch of, semi-pro guys running around. That's not what I want to see. And that's my thing with expansion teams. You can add 5, 7, 8, 9 teams every year, but 7 of them can suck. And that's not what we want to see. All right, let's just be real. So
I'll leave it up to Krish to say something blunt as always. But no, I mean, you're 100% spot on. It's about the quality, not necessarily quantity, right? So, I mean, you got to bring in the right ownership groups. And that's the thing that's always so, I don't want to say confusing because it's not confusing. Obviously, there's a million people out there that want to be team owners, but that's how it always strikes me as odd that there's always so many ownership groups that are coming out of the woodwork each season to try and launch teams, despite the fact that this is an industry that we know is very hard to make a profit in. And typically the teams that profit are the ones that have been around for many years, taking a loss to get to that point, and setting up the infrastructure to really make that team succeed long term. Your Arizona Rattlers, your Omaha Beef, teams like that have been established for a long time. So that's another caveat, in this as well. I mean, are these ownership groups going to be able to do that? Are they going to make it, longer than a season? What's the product look like when it comes to the field in the first place? So that's a great point, Krish. I mean, honestly, that's the largest fear I've got for any one of these leagues. When you're adding a team, at this point, how do you even go about making sure that team's going to make it through a season? You do immediately just have to stipulate that they have so much money in the bank before the season even starts, or how you go about trying to fix that situation is one of the questions in my mind that it's just so hard to answer. There's been so many issues with teams coming and going, but without ever even playing a game. How do you prevent that in the future, and make it to where when we hear expansion, we don't necessarily immediately cringe and wonder, who's going to take over that team, who's coming on, are they going to be able to make it? So that's definitely parts of this that always kind of strikes me as interesting, that there's so many ownership groups out there being vetted seriously. But Triple McGee, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. He says, any word on teams that were on pause actually starting in 2026? So I don't know about you guys. I have not heard much of anything other than Stockton has been very active on Twitter, which I would imagine is eventually building up to them being a team again. But I haven't heard a word about Wichita. Haven't heard much about Monterey. Can you guys add any context to either one of those?
Yeah, I haven't heard much. I think it's very disappointing when teams announce they're coming and then they just disappear. I mean, we see this in every league, right? It's, you're wasting time of fans, community members, and you're getting people excited for nothing. So I'm I don't know if Monterey will come back. I really hope having a team in Mexico would be so unique, but I don't know with everything going on if they would actually add a team there.
That's fair. I mean, you have to really question about the logistics of that as well.
Because Todd Tyron for the IFL said that he would always go north of the border. He would never go south. So.
You have a point. I do recall him saying that. So that's another factor here that, is that really the direction you want to go? I mean, I don't have any ill will towards anybody down there or anything like that, but there are some serious question marks about law enforcement and stuff like that down there. So I mean, that could be a factor that you really have to think about as well. TJ, have you heard anything about Monterey, Wichita, any of those other franchises?
No, same thing as you have seen, a couple things earlier on throughout the season with Stockton trying to make, keep in the minds of people and stuff. But pretty much the other teams have fallen off, which is unfortunate because, I do remember the NAL had a team in Mexico for one season, I believe it was, but they were one of the best teams in the league and they had a lot of fan support. They were really cool. Their colors were black and yellow. So, of course, as you know, a Steelers fan outside, it was kind of like, oh, okay, cool, this is cool. But they only lasted one season. Supposedly it was because of arena costs and logistics with traveling from Mexico to, all the other teams in the area. So, maybe that is part of what has done it in. Maybe behind the scenes they worked on it, and some of these areas, it didn't make sense travel wise, put a lot of strain on teams. Who knows? But no, I haven't really heard anything too much about them. Monterey's pretty much fallen off the map, in my opinion. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that since their announcement to wait till next year. So, I guess we'll wait and see. But, just to piggyback off Krish a little bit, when teams announce stuff and they don't, it doesn't just stink for the current community, but also in the future. Because if another team says that they want to try and come in or ownership group come in, it's going to leave a bad impression on their, are you really coming or are you just, saying you will like the last team did? So, it's all about stigma and just the kind of aura that you put out for fans and the community. So either way, it's not too good that pretty much all these teams fell off.
And it's kind of crazy. Monterey signed like 3 players. Like, why are you signing players before you announce a name, announce a partner, announce an arena? Like, you're wasting time. Like, it's a lot of these owners and coaches, man, they get so excited to go out and sign players. That's like they play it like a Madden. But there's so much more that goes into building a franchise than just signing players. Like, you got to build a foundation first before you can, ride the bike. So
that's a fair point. I mean, I do think some of that stuff can come after. And I do understand why you start signing players early. Obviously, have to be competitive in free agency, of course. But at the same time, like you said, I mean, it sounds like if rumors are correct anyway, what it came down to with them was an arena issue, if I remember correctly. So if that's the case, then like, why are we signing players? Because we don't even have a place to play. And if you don't have a place to play, excuse me, you have nothing realistically when it comes to indoor football. So at that point, that's a real big question mark for me in terms of the ownership group and really kind of being able to make this work long term. Did you know that ahead of time? I mean, where did you have, something in the works and then something fell apart? That's the kind of stuff that we may never know the answer to. But as far as the teams announcing stuff and then not following through, I really have to question some of that myself because, you look back and you're like, okay, why is this team announcing as early as they are? And we've talked about it before. It's a head start on getting sponsors. It's a head start on trying to grow support for the team, and really trying to promote ticket sales and everything you possibly can do to build up that foundation financially. But what do you do when your community doesn't support you, or you don't have very good sponsorship sales, or stuff like that? Is that playing a factor in why these teams are not following through on the promises that were made last season? You what if you go through a full calendar year and you really just haven't had the progress that you need to be able to make it work? At that point, do you step away? Do you just disappear like some of these owners have? Or do you make an announcement like Stockton did last season and say, hey, look, we're still making a run at this thing, but as of right now, we're not where we need to be? I have a lot of respect for how Stockton's approached it in that manner. But what are you guys' thoughts on that thought? I mean, like, is this a situation where they didn't get enough support, Krish?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, again, California is a very, very, very expensive state to operate. I think I want to say it's the top 5 most expensive state in the country to operate an arena football team. It might be number 1, honestly. So, yeah, I mean, they probably, got to the season, they thought they had all the resources, and then, oh, no. I mean, that's why the only teams in California are owned by Roy Choi, right? He's a billionaire. So, let's just be, and they have so many sponsors in the Bay Area. They do a good job. In San Diego, too, about getting in the community. Stockton, you can't announce a team and expect to do all the community building in 7 months. It doesn't work like that, right? You need a year. So now they had a full year, and I really hope they've gone in the community. One thing I also wanted to say about announcing teams is I like what the NAL does. I give the NAL a lot of crap, but they do press conferences, and that makes it look so legit. Sure, there might be like 12 people at the press conference, but it makes it more legit and it makes it look more professional because, you announce an ownership group, a head coach. Like, that's how a team should be announced, right? That's the standard when it comes to announcing teams. I prefer doing that than seeing a team pop up on social media one day and we spend 4 weeks guessing, oh, what league is this team playing in, right? And then they finally announce it. Like, I like the press conference structure a lot better, honestly.
No, I honestly think that's been one of the facets of all of this that the NAL has really kind of been the benchmark for the professionalism, on because they do legitimately have press conferences for every team. I remember watching the Colorado one, and I remember watching the West Texas one very recently. So I mean, that sort of thing I think provides a lot of legitimacy to your league as well. From a viewership standpoint. It makes it look like a professional organization. So I think that's really important. And that was another good point, Krish. TJ, what are your thoughts on all of that? Do you think this is potentially a situation where they didn't have enough support? And then also Krish's point about the press conferences.
Yeah, I just don't think they did enough to get out there in the community. Like Chris said, you got to get a buzz going, especially when you're in a heavier market for the sport, like Stockton was trying to do. You know, I personally like what the NAL does with the press conferences because, like you guys said, it adds more legitimacy. It also gets it out there guaranteed, and not just from any source, but directly from you, which makes it more trusting. You just feel more connected to it because you're not just reading a Facebook post saying, "Hey, we're joining the whatever league." You're getting the video, you're getting to hear some of the people, potentially the head coach, the ownership, the league talk about the team and the possibilities. It just makes it feel more real and legitimate. So I definitely do like the professional based press conferences, but unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever really get one from Stockton, just because again they've seemingly flatlined. So, it's unfortunate, but it's it's kind of the nature of the beast if you look back at the history of arena and indoor football. So.
I'm sorry, man. I got to bring it up, man. Your Playboy Punishers, man. I mean, all their Facebook posts are written by AI. It's so bad. I mean, I'm sorry, man. Like, I appreciate the effort of using a tool, but like when you write all your Facebook posts from AI, it's like handwritten, man. Like Ricky Burns, he handwrites all of Omaha Beast posts. Why can't you write it yourself? It just doesn't look good, and that logo is terrible too. I'm not gonna lie. So
we get it, buddy. You don't like the logo. It's Pueblo for the record. How's it going, Coach B?
What's up, fellas? Good morning, man. Sorry I'm late. Had to get my daughter off to college.
Congratulations to your daughter for starting college.
Appreciate you.
That's awesome. So we have another comment on the logo. It's horrifically over-designed. I don't know why everybody hates it. I personally like it. It's different, but
I do too, Sam. I like it. I actually like the logo.
thank you. I'm glad to hear I'm not the only one. I'm obviously biased, right? So I'm from Colorado. I'm gonna support any team that comes here, even if Titus. I've been talking to you on Twitter. Even if you want to bring a team to Colorado Springs, man, I'll support all three of you guys. Spartans, Punishers, whatever, the Outlaws if they come. But yeah, I can understand some of the thought process that it's a little bit much, but it's different. That's why I like it. It's not another cowboy hat wearing guy with fire in the background or something. I'm just saying, like it's different.
Do you think, Sam? Do you think bringing another team back to what was that? Colorado Springs would be good because I know we had it there in the past, and
Um,
but
that's a tough question to answer. I mean, I think Colorado is definitely big enough to have three teams. Would they support three teams? That's tough. That's tough because I mean, if you think about it, I think Denver and Pueblo are far enough apart that they're not necessarily competing for sponsors or competing for, the same audience per se. Because I mean, 2 hour difference. But I mean, at the same time, you would like to think that fans, at least within an hour's drive, are going to come see the team, right? So if that's the thought, then you're both kind of dipping into that Colorado Springs market, which if you then added a team in Colorado Springs and you're splitting the audience three ways, that might be a little difficult unless they're all in the same league and you're saving money dramatically on travel, in which case that could definitely open up a whole nother avenue for it to make sense. But honestly, I think three teams would probably be a little bit of a stretch here. So we have a good point here from Wookie, and I wanted to see what you guys had to say about this. But Wookie said, I personally think the outcome of our election last fall took the sails out of Monterey's wings. That's a very logical thought process. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. Coach B, what do you think? Do you think the election, bringing Trump back into office, had anything to do with it? Monterey potentially not coming back?
I would give that, I'd say 5% yes on that. The rest is I really don't think Monterey was up for the challenge of what they really had to do to come in here. Because Monterey was talking with the AFL last year too to come in last year. So they've been trying to get into a league, and they got into AF1, and just like Stockton, it's a hard market for Monterey to come in and be by yourself down there. You're gonna have a lot of travel. A lot of people ain't gonna be able to travel. You got to think about a lot of people don't have work visas or passports to even go there. So that probably put a hinder on a lot of things right there right now. With Trump being in the office, it's not gonna help with players or coaches not having passports or something like that. So you got to think about all the logistics that come with it for Monterey to be in this. Every other team got to be logistically sound as well. They got to have passports, work visas, or something to go down there.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And then also the point that was made earlier about the travel for the team coming into play away games. It's one thing for a team from America to go down to Mexico and maybe play them a couple times a season. But every time Mexico travels to an away game, they have to jump the border, or not jump the border, but they have to go through border control and all that stuff, which that's a long process. In case you haven't done that, that's at least a couple hours at the minimum. I can only imagine that process becomes extremely convoluted when you've got an entire football team to try.
And I do want to bring up this point too. The owner of the Monterey team was a co-owner of an LFA team, right? So to me, prior, like a couple years prior. So for me, I think they would have had a big emphasis on, local players. I think they would have filled the roster up with 7 to 10 local guys. That makes it so hard in season recruiting too, trying to fill up your roster, make a phone call, be like, oh, you have a passport. You're relying on that. So that kind of has an unfair advantage. right? Where, other teams have that advantage over you. Why don't you think that IFA team, the IFA, Chihuahuas, what are they called? I don't even know. They played one game. Why do you think that is? Because the Tennessee Hornets team that they were supposed to play, only 3 guys on the team had passports, right? So this is the issue this team is running into, where they didn't plan for this. And obviously the IFA is a mess. It's full of shit. But the point is like, it's a lot harder. You got to plan ahead, and these leagues are notorious for not planning ahead, right? So
No, I completely agree, and that was something that I think a lot of teams were looking at on the surface when Monterey was announced. And I'm willing to bet that every coaching staff had that in the back of their minds, and if not forefront of the minds, asking each player that they signed if they had their passport ahead of time and had everything squared away, just to make sure that was going to be not going to be a factor in terms of getting players to the games. So that is something that I think is definitely, not overstated by any stretch, that is a factor for sure. TJ, any thoughts on this before we move into some of these comments real quick?
I know. I mean, Krish hit it on the head. A lot of just logistical with the passports and things like that. I don't know. I think I side with Coach B. I don't know if I know sports and politics go hand in hand, but I don't think politics really care about arena football. So, ultimately, I think it was some kind of just a traveling or some kind of logistical issue that's kind of made him freeze.
Honestly, Sam, it would be great to have Monterey adding a South America team to or any league is good publicity because now you become an international league. So it's beneficial to add somewhere like that. It just got to logistically work. Remember when Monterey was in? I think they were in the IFL or one of those leagues before, and money became an issue because they were playing all these big time players over there, and their payroll was probably way more insane than a lot of payrolls right now. And that's another thing. When you get owners down there, they try to overspend too and don't know the actual cost of a arena football team. So they might have got in over their head.
That's fair for sure. And it was actually the NAL, but that was actually brought up earlier that their travel costs are automatically more expensive than any other team that's out there, because you're crossing the border. And then on top of that, you have to make sure that, you're able to do that every time, and that everybody's able to come, and believe it or not, that's not as easy as you might think. There are some players out there that have some things in their background that make it difficult to cross borders and stuff like that. So that is also a factor. But to get to some of these comments, Coach Negron says the Amarillo press conference was very well attended. Strategic announcements and announcing when the time is truly right makes all the difference. That's a great point. Timing is everything. Press conference gives a physical feel that the team is in place, especially in the community. Wheeling and Amarillo did those perfectly. That's a great point, Wookie. Perception is everything. And if the perception is that you're physically there to do the press conference, I think that's a good thing. Like, I think that's actually something that the community probably picks up on and really kind of vibes with. So that's a really good
I also
thing.
think it helps Amarillo, their co-owner, Derek Urasis, he was a broadcaster for, he does radio and broadcasting. He's been doing that for 15 years. So he has that in his background. So he knows what the community wants to hear, right? And so having that experience is so valuable. And so GM also has a radio show that he runs. He works for a radio station down there. So that experience is so valuable. Definitely.
No, good point. Good points for sure. And I mean, honestly, he's also a recognizable face. So if that guy comes in and asks you for a sponsorship, you're probably a little bit more willing to listen to what he has to say than some other people as well. So that's a good thing as well. Sports logos need to be instantly recognizable on a jersey or T-shirt. If you have to decipher it, then you've already lost. That's a good point. I could see that. For sure. What's good, fellas? Tony O'Neill checking in. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time last weekend and appreciate you always tuning in as well. passports got a lot harder to get on the sports end as someone involved in NASCAR and many workers struggled to get their visas leading up to the last month's race. That's good to know. That's something that I have never had to deal with personally, so I can imagine there's quite a bit of back info there. Coach Negron, the
Oh
average flight
wow.
cost for a team to go round trip to Monterey would be a $20,000 round trip, and that's booking the flight 6 months in advance. Coach, maybe you can refresh my memory. Were you around when Monterey was a franchise in the NAL? And if you were, what was that like? The only reason I brought up politics is because things got harder come January.
Wookie is right.
That was a great point. Yeah, and it was a valid point. So I appreciate you bringing that up because it was something I had not previously thought about, and nor had I had on our list here. We get
That
to
makes
welcome.
sense though, Sam. I tried to get a passport a couple months ago, and it is harder now than me going to get a passport 5 years from now. So you got a lot more stuff you got to do to get a passport too. So that could be a factor playing in on a lot of stuff because they're not giving out work visas just easy anymore. You got to have a legitimate reason to get a work visa, and arena football is not one of them.
That's a great point too. I mean, if you look at it, there's going to be a lot of loopholes to jump through there in terms of the government to make that happen as well. Tony O'Neill, we get to welcome a quarterback to the league tonight. In case you are not aware, he's talking about Tyler Kolka, who was previously with Nashville Cats, just finished up his season after the division round of the playoffs, and he is now signed with the Ozarks Lunkers, who obviously play the Duluth Harbor Monsters tonight. So definitely make sure you're tuning into YouTube, the Arena League football channel to watch that game as well. Wookie on a roll. Agreed. I joined the year after, but I can tell you that in-state teams during those years lost $500,000 per year. So imagine the losses of an international team trying to sustain in that financial environment. Yeah, I can only imagine. Great points. Tony O'Neill, the last time an elite quarterback was signed, he threw 8 picks and kissed the turf 10 times.
Was that Arvell Nelson or Lorenzo Brown? I think that might have been Lorenzo Brown, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait a minute. What? Lorenzo Brown played in the TAL?
Lorenzo Brown, yeah. So Ozarks, they have a history of throwing money at players to come for a game. So they had Lorenzo Brown start the end of the season. Yeah, beef quarterback, Lorenzo Brown.
Yeah. Shady. They got money to play with us in Ozarks. I'm not gonna lie. Ozarks by far is the richest team in the league. Then comes Duluth. They owners have a nice amount of cash.
All right. I would not have expected that. And honestly, I don't remember seeing Brown play for or sign with them. So
that's why I was talking to Coach Tony, and he agreed with me too about having a transaction log in the TAL, right? Like every other league, because you shouldn't be able to just show up with whoever.
Titus didn't want to do it because he don't want other leagues jocking or what you say stealing what they do in transactions wise or players and stuff like that, which I understand where you're coming from. You start seeing a lot of coaches look at your transactions and doing what you're doing. I did it last year to other leagues.
Yeah.
But like, look at July Flowers. July Flowers signed with Omaha Beef for next year, right? But his I don't think the contract starts till I want to say February, right? So he
October. The contract starts in October, but he's allowed to finish the season with Duluth or whoever he is with another league. But officially October, he's officially signed to the MLB.
It's getting convoluted for sure with all these leagues. It's funny to follow, but man, that's crazy. Plush King says it's unfortunate that Monterey never got off the ground with a lot of things that were beyond their control, and some things that were in their control as well. So we'll just say that. But Beef's quarterback, Easy Tony. This is hilarious. Working on it. Okay, so out of curiosity, Coach, I mean, do they have something do they have a portal for coaches to go on and see the past transactions, or is it just you find out when you play the team and then that guy's on the
You
roster?
find out normally you find out that night before when we got to turn in the rosters. That's it. Like
What?
we done had up to the night, like the last minute. I've been turned in a roster because I signed the player at 11:50 p.m. As long as that roster's in by midnight that Friday, you good. So it's hard to keep up with transactions when teams just signing people all the way to the last minute of the wire before we got to turn it in for the week.
Yeah, imagine showing up to a game and just looking and seeing Arvell Nelson warm up from Iowa Woo, just like randomly. Like, what is he like? That's insane.
That's He said he knew on Sunday the quarterback was being signed. Apparently, you were not the only one. I mean, by the way, that news was broken here on Shady Sports. Good job,
Yes, it
Krish.
was.
I appreciate that. You do a great job. Tony says everyone wants to play for Duluth. All right, so apparently there's going to be some interesting moves coming at 11:59 next Saturday. So we've spent quite a bit of time on the AF1 expansion already, so I don't want to spend too much more time on it. So let's go ahead and move over to the NAL and start talking about some of them. But real quick before we do that, we're going to hit a quick commercial break, and I need to step away for a moment. So when we get back, I might need you guys to lead the charge for a minute. But yeah, a quick moment from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, so obviously, I think when you talk about NAL, obviously the big topic of discussion is the Beaumont Renegades leaving the league. Coach B, me and you had extensive discussion about this. I want to start with you, and then we'll go to TJ.
Let's start with TJ.
TJ, all right. TJ, so Beaumont's the only team to beat Coach Negron ever twice. So Coach Negron had never lost to a coach in the NAL twice. Beaumont's the only team to beat him twice. And you could say Omaha, but I can't count Omaha because he's with Omaha now. So the only other team to beat Coach Negron twice is the Beaumont Renegades. So how do you feel about Beaumont, leaving? They're 2-0 against their beef. Are you excited? Are you happy? Are you kind of upset? Where are you at with it?
Man, they were scared to come back next year. What can I say? No, I'm just kidding. No, they were a great team, man. Hey, and congrats to them, man. They won the chip. And apparently they're looking to move, I guess, quote unquote, up potentially, I guess, in the ranks. Hey, why not? I mean, normally first year expansion teams, when they move up or just pop up out of nowhere in a league, they have a rough year. They have a rough year. It's more or less of can we get the fan base to keep this team going, and then we'll be better when years come in. That's usually the game plan. They came out like wildfire. They were almost perfect. They won the championship over the Beef, who, I mean, let's face it. I mean, the past couple years, opening week, they're the favorites to hoist the trophy at the end of the year. So they did a fantastic job. I wish they would have come back next year because, personally, me as a competitor, hey, congrats to them. They beat my favorite team in the chip. I wanted to face them again next year and get some revenge. Man, that's just the competitor in me. So it's unfortunate that kind of budding rivalry is going to probably go extinct now. But hey, man, whether they whether they try to get into the AF1, maybe the IFL, or if they end up coming back, because the door was left open for them to come back if they can't find another option, which means the NAL does want to keep them if it works out for both parties. So I think that they were they had a great season, and if they do go to another league, definitely alert's going to be up. And if they come back to the NAL, hey, they're the defending champs, and let's go.
Yeah, Coach B, what about you?
I said, don't steal my seat.
Working with Sam, I knew a little bit was what was going on. His initial intention was always AFL, AF1. So that's where he wanted to go from the jump. When he started building his team last year, me and him had extensive conversations. So it was that was his goal, and that's where he wanted to go. Uh, I don't know what happened in the last week or two that made him just say, "Hey, I'm gonna go. I'm I'm gonna go buy and look at some other options right now." But I do think they would benefit in another league, but I think they fit
Chandler, I'm
perfect
sorry, bud.
in the NAL.
Do you want my seat?
Uh-oh. So we got a little difficulty right there. Uh, but honestly, I don't know what the contract they had with the NAL, if it was a one year rental contract. Normally I thought the NAL do 2 or 3 year contracts with teams to make sure they're solidified. So I don't know how that went. They could have bought out. I just think standpoint wise, it didn't look good after you just met with the city and the council members, and then the next day you opt out of the league that you was just in. I would have kind of waited for the announcement, like you say, everything's strategic. I would have waited till I got confirmation from the other league that I'm going to first, then released a statement saying that we were leaving the league, and then I would announce a week after that that we were going to a new league, so we would have people not speculating or not thinking something happened or things like that. But just a professionalism way of doing it.
Yeah, I was about to say Coach B. I mean, that was a PR nightmare. I mean, I'm just be real. Like championship celebration, you scroll down and you see in a news article that the team is leaving the league, and we don't know where they're going. Right? They haven't been accepted in any league. I multiple sources, good sources, have told me that it was a dispute between the NAL. Essentially, I've been told you can basically equate it. They committed fraud, right? Essentially. And so if that is true of them committing fraud, they're not getting in the IFL. They're not. I mean, I think the IFL is a pipe dream for me. Unless they have a new owner, new sponsors, the IFL is one of the most expensive. It's the most expensive league to operate in, right? You have to have money. The entrance fee is high. Unless the IFL is waiving the entrance fee, I don't see how the current owners in the IFL would be okay with waiving the entrance fee that they have to pay every year. I don't see that. So I think the AF1 is the most realistic option. However, I will say that regionally, like Beaumont is less than 10 hours away from San Antonio, less than 10 hours away from Tulsa, less than 10 hours away from exactly, Coach. It's less than 10 hours away from New Mexico, right, wherever that team is located. So you can have a nice little division of 4, right? And they can play each other 4 or 5 times each. And then if the Dallas team comes back too. So, it's interesting to see. But I think, yes, PR nightmare. I would have handled it the way they did. I would have known what you said, Coach B. But, I think our next NAL topic is West Texas. I want to get to their head coaching hire. They hired Corpus Christi offense coordinator Jermaine Blakely. Jermaine Blakely's offense ranked 7th out of 8, so second to last in the AF1 last year. He's their new leader, new head coach. I want to start with you, Coach B. We talk about, head coaching searches. They clearly had Jermaine Blakely decided before they publicly announced his franchise.
I think they had already had a coach in mind and probably went with him because he worked with Leaf and them before. Do I think it's a great hire? No, not at all. It's ton of more great coaches out there better than him. If you we talked about it last week, Chris. He got his play calling duties taken away from him during the season, and he wasn't able to even call plays anymore. So he's just an offensive coach. He doesn't have the winning credentials. We've talked to players and other people who say he's a good assistant, but not ready to be a head coach. So I don't think that was a great hire. I think they just went to be safe with somebody who lives in the area or somebody who's a yes sir guy who can do what they asked them to do. I think a lot of these teams are not vetting coaches properly. think they just going with the safest bet, or the league just giving them a list of coaches they want in their league, and they trying to get fit just to be in that league. I think we should do proper vetting and get right coaches in there. We got a lot of coaches out here that need jobs, who should have jobs, and who are very qualified that we're overlooking because of the buddy system, or we're going with what we want the good old boys to think we should have. My thing is, I'm not gonna lie to you. We need to start properly in having an interview process. I think you should wait after you start a team or you got a new team. You should wait a month after interviewing at least 4 or 5 candidates, and then doing your search thoroughly. I think we just need to start vetting properly in arena football. We wouldn't have so many teams folding. We wouldn't have so many issues with sponsorships, and just being honest. You hired a position coach to be a head coach with no experience. Uh, they didn't have a great team this year. When they did had a great team, that's because they had the highest payroll in the league, and they couldn't even pay that payroll. So he had players to work with, and still, I heard from the players that they were calling most of the offense this year in Corpus Christi. DP said he had a lot of influence on that offense. So you hire a guy who really couldn't control the him to control your him, and I just want to see how that takes off. No shade. Congratulations to Coach Blakely. I just feel like it was other coaches out there that was more willing and deserving of that opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. And what the job, right? When you announce a company, what job do you have a preset, candidate, right? You interview, you go through an interview process. That's every other corporation, every other company except the arena football head coach, right? And so I respect Jermaine Blakely. We've had great conversations. He's a good evaluator of talent. I think he's a good recruiter. But the reality is his offense scored 22 points against Columbus in the championship game. His offense averaged 28 points a game in the AF1, playing an arena style of football. So that's just a fact. That's what it is.
Well, he look what Albany did to him. They scored almost 90 points on him, and he didn't even break 20, if that.
That's a rough situation.
I don't care what you saying, Sam. As a coach in arena football, your goal is not to get an offensive coordinator, not to get less than 30 points a game. That should be your goal every game. But
I completely agree on that.
He couldn't find nothing to do against Albany. Like nothing worked against Albany. Nothing did.
But
I've never had a coach I've coached with score that low. I don't care where it be.
Was that not the game that was sat out by Fred Payton, Darius?
Right. Yeah, the 112. I don't fault him. I don't fault him for the 112. And that was that no coach, even you, Coach B, you could have stand out there. They would still lose. They would still put up 100 on you. Like no disrespect to you. That is with
difference between me. I got players who will come in and play for a little bit of nothing and still produce. So it's about the coach.
Last minute, though, they decided that I will say this. I will say this, Coach B. I have to disagree with you. I think the idea is, yes, you got to play calling duty stripped of him. He was calling defense. The defense still didn't produce. He switched to calling defense against Oregon. You know what I mean? That defense didn't produce. So he didn't produce. He didn't put up results. That's the reality. That's the conversation. I think Coach Blakely is a good recruiter, but I don't think he's a head coach. I just don't. I would rate the higher C. Can Coach Blakely go into Omaha and be Coach Negron? That's what the question everyone wants to know. No, that's not happening.
No, not happening.
Right? That's when you hire a head coach that can be the best of the best, and that's what it is. So.
Fair points. I don't really know enough about JA or that coaching staff in general to really say one way or another if he's deserving of this opportunity. I do think
someone knew he had never been a head coach. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. We talk about. See, that's the thing, Coach. We were kind of contradicting ourselves a little bit, right? We want someone new. We want someone with no experience, but then we want someone with experience. So they did hire someone with no head coaching experience, but is he the right candidate?
But do we have experience as a true coach? You got to think about. You got coaches out there. Donovan Morgan deserves a chance to be a head coach.
Right, exactly.
Great coach. You got other coaches out there who are properly prepared for this position. When they gave me the job last year, you see, I was properly prepared. My meetings, my roster was set by November. We had meetings starting in October. My team was. You got to be prepared for this position. This ain't just a throw me in this and give me the head coach title because I've been an OC or a DC for years. I've known DCs and OCs who perfect DCs and OCs, but that's just their niche. They not meant to be a head coach. Sometimes you gotta go where you fit, and I don't think that is a good fit down there, especially when you have the backlash you have from all the other Amarillo teams, and you need to bring in somebody with the firepower right now to get your fan base going and to know that you're gonna win. Like you said, I don't think that's the coach who's gonna beat Negron or who's gonna beat a lot of other coaches in the NAL right now.
And this thing, and this, my last thing on this, they're pre. I love the comments, by the way. They're preaching championship. Bro, you're not winning a championship. Like, you're not Beaumont. That coaching staff, I see the coaching staff they're hiring. They're just hiring as homeboys. That's all they're doing. So they're not winning a championship. You guys, when they made that hire, I'm like, that had 5-5 written all over it. Like, they're not winning a championship. I love Leaf. Leaf, he seems like a great guy, great owner. They're going to do great things in the community. They're going to win in the community. But like Coach Negron has a son in Colorado, and that son is named Fred Shaw. He has another son now in West Texas. So that's what it is.
You almost had me there for a minute. I was like, wait, Coach Negron's got a kid in Colorado? And then it immediately shifted. I was like, oh, okay.
I was shocked too. I'm like, man, coach got kids. He plays.
Coach is a whole football team worth of kids. You could dang near staff his next arena football team. But
what you think, TJ?
I love all these comments going back and forth. TJ, you've been awfully quiet up there in the corner for a little while.
I've just been watching the show, man.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna add into it, man. Last year it is really hard to judge the whole Corpus Christi thing by the cover. That 100-12 it was game that was with legitimate midweek, if not day before, replacement players. Most of their key guys sat out. It was basically a rebellion going on with all the bad stuff going on. So I don't really pin too much on last season as a whole. I say give the guy a chance. Were there bigger names out there? Yes, but for whatever reason, whether it was financials or scheming or what the specific ownership group wanted to see in a head coaching candidate, we'll find out. The proof will be in the pudding at the end of next season. I'll just put it like that.
I agree. I mean, I think it's tough for anybody to be judged on that situation. And I don't necessarily mean that, he didn't make some mistakes by any stretch. I don't want to say his coaching job was perfect by any stretch, but at the same time, when you recruit a roster that is probably one of the most talented in the league, first of all, and then that roster, poof, overnight is gone, and you're immediately having to scrounge and find every local player that is willing to come to the game like 24 hours before the game, which a lot of that was brought on by themselves. Don't get me wrong, that payroll was crazy, but at the same time, I think that's a tough situation to be in. And I think anything, if you want to judge them on the progress from that point when they hit rock bottom, and then go forward and watch how they progressed, because it went from rock bottom, they were not competitive, they couldn't score a point to save their life, to the next couple weeks, they slowly rebuilt that roster and eventually were at least a somewhat competitive team toward the end of the season. They gave Nashville a run for their money. I think they gave Billings a pretty tough game at one point as well. So you can kind of judge the coaching on that, I think. But at the same time, again, I don't know enough about him to sit here and say that he deserves this opportunity by any stretch. But I do like the fact that it's someone new that you guys have preached, rather than the same exact 4 head coaches that.
Yeah, what bothers me, the first player they're going to sign is Uja Hendricks. Bro, Uja Hendricks is a 39-year-old washed-up father who hasn't played football in 7 years. All right? He's not going to make it through one day of training camp. So good luck. Great signing.
Well, there's another thing there, though. Is he part of the
Yeah,
community?
he a community guy. He brings tickets and fans, but
Exactly.
I gotta agree with Chris. He hasn't been big in that community in the last few years, so I don't think it's gonna be a big of a splash. You got to get somebody who's really locally young from there. People is behind, so I don't know. Like I said, I, agree with you on this one, Shady. We don't know enough. He was put in a tough situation, but I do secondly agree when you said that was brought on by them too. Don't promise shit that you know you can't afford. Don't bring in players that you really know you can't afford because you don't know what the payroll is. If you don't know what the payroll is, I'm going with the league minimum on contracts. So that was on them as a coaching staff not properly vetting it and doing their due diligence. So they wanted to come in with a splash and be the big dogs. You got to pay what you weigh, and they wasn't paying what they weigh, and it reverted back to what you really weigh. And the weight wasn't what they thought it was. So now you got to coach. And when it came down to just coaching, because you don't got those dogs no more, that's where you saw the true proof in the pudding.
We've got quite a few comments to get to, and I think it's probably pretty worthwhile for everybody who's watching. So first of all, we basically got all of Duluth's coaching staff here right now in the comments. Deron Clark, offensive coordinator. Really appreciate you tuning in, Coach. Would love to get you on an episode. But you keep ducking us. It's okay. We'll get it figured out one of these days. But then Tony also going back and forth with Coach Negron from the Beef, which is kind of interesting. So we got a couple comments here. Roll through those ones really quick. Already predicting a win tonight, which, maybe they do. I can't argue that yet. This is when it gets interesting. Would you say that the replacement players not having the chemistry to play together was an issue? I agree with that. Coach Q, Brandon, or Coach Negron, do you want me to answer that? And then Ricky is getting involved. Tony O'Neill again. It just keeps going. There's quite the conversation going on in the chat right now, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. Definitely appreciate all the coaches, the owners, all of you guys tuning in. That honestly means a lot to us because you guys watching means we're doing something right for sure. But lots going on in the comments for sure. Appreciate it. And if either one of you guys want to hop on here live and have this discussion real quick, we're more than happy to have you on.
That's Coach Negron's way of saying we're about to put belt to ass to them. That's like the nice way. That's the translation of that. So I appreciate him putting that in a professional tone. I could never.
Hey, he said he gonna make them feel welcome. He putting up 60 or 70.
Oh man, that was an awesome good back and forth. Like I really appreciate that. Lots to unpack there for sure.
Sam, one of the comments I do agree with, it said let him cook. We do got to give him a fair shot and let him coach and see what he do. Prove us wrong.
Thank you. That's the point that I'm getting at. He's been a coordinator, he's been a position coach and stuff, and anybody can say whatever they want about how he's coached in the past, but I would like to say that there are a lot of factors into being a head coach. Maybe it's a situation where him being a head coach puts him in a position where he's able to oversee everything, but not necessarily have to be a play caller on either side of the ball, and can be that kind of CEO type of head coach, construct the roster, oversee offense, defense, and special teams, but not necessarily be the play caller. So this could potentially set him up for success as well. So it'd be interesting to see.
You can clip this too. Clip this right now. Just like you said, you were in a clip when Coach Thomas was supposed to get a playoff win, which he's allergic to. But you can clip this right now. All right, clip it right now. Coach Blakely in West Texas will not have a winning record in 2026. They will either go 5-5 or have a losing record. They will not have a winning record. Clip that on my mama, bro.
That's not nice of
wow.
you to say on your mom. I mean, what if she doesn't want to throw her name on that? What if she thinks Coach Blakely is going to be a great coach?
Bro, you know what's about to happen. Come on, bro. Like 7 out of 8 AF1 offense. It's not rocket science. We've seen this story play out before. So if they give whoever, if they make the schedule and give him Shreveport 4 times, yeah, maybe he might have a winning record then. But if the schedule is any, much competitive, like no, there's levels to NAL. He's on the JV level. He's with Coach Shaw, right? He's not on the Coach McGrone level. There's levels.
Hey, so you saying this the same hire as NAZ hiring their coach down there in the IFL?
Well, Ron James won championships. Coach Blakely had
Yeah.
never won a championship, right? I mean, maybe in college as a player, but I don't think Coach Blakely has ever won a playoff game. I know he won a playoff game with West Texas as an assistant coach in the level league. You know what I mean? Like you can't really. I mean, I'm not discounting that. I think it's amazing. But when they say we won championships in West Texas, yeah, playing washed up dads. That's the only championship you won. You don't know what pro football championships are really like. So stay in your lane.
You can't now. One thing you can't discredit their championship. A championship, no matter what level it's on.
No,
It's a championship. I'm gonna totally disagree with you, Chris, because no matter what, in any league, whether it's Pee Wee, Pop Warner, you still got to play those games. You still got to go through that war to get to that ship. And winning the ship ain't easy at no level. So I don't discredit nobody who won the ship. Because you had to go through, you got to fight and go through adversity. He had to coach. He had to do his thing. He got a ship. Let's give him credit for that. No matter what league it is.
Okay. I mean, I can see where they're coming from, but yeah, you can clip it. I'm saying they won't have a winning record next year. I'm already so confident in that. So
I like that. You see, Tony said it's possible head coaches are hired because GMs are able to bring in funds. If you got a quality GM who can bring in the money, then yes, you can bring in any kind of coach that you want to bring in. But even then, I still want to bring in the right coach. Every coach don't deserve a certain job. Some teams, you got to have the right coach to build that organization, that franchise, that program, and get the city and the people behind you. So it does matter who you hire sometimes.
Well, I use Coach McGrone as an example. When he first got the Carolina job, there was people that were skeptical, but he's developed as a play caller. You've seen his play calling from year 1 to year 2. It's completely developed. And last year, when he was Carolina, that offense was highly rated. But even this year, we can say Tommy this, Tommy that. But even with Lorenzo, he was cooking, right? And so the play calling, I think you evolve as a play caller. But when you get your play calling duties stripped away, there's no evolution. You're just going backwards. So that's my thing. That's why I'm a little skeptical, You
got a good point right there, Sam. When you do get your play calling duties stripped, that's not a good look as a coordinator. I don't care if it's beginning of the season, end of the season, whatever. That means you weren't fulfilling your job duties.
Yeah, you're fair. I mean, that's a fair point. Obviously, there was something the coaching staff thought could be improved by him not being a play caller, and that's obviously not a good thing at any point. But at the same time, you have to question. You have to question, how much of that was made necessary due to the fact that he didn't have proper talent or AF1 level talent at the time, or a short time at least. But TJ, I know you got to get rolling out of here soon. Do you have any final thoughts before you get out of here today?
Excuses, Sam. OC make do with whatever players they got. You adjust that scheme to whatever players you got. So we can't make that excuse.
Fair. Any final thoughts, TJ?
Man, I'm kind of sad I have to jump off so early because this is getting good, man. I can feel the temperature rising on this show right now. This is good. But hey, thanks for having me on, everyone who came to watch and been commenting and stuff. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. You're the reason why we do this, and hopefully I see all you guys next week. Krish, Coach B, and Sam. Have a good weekend, guys.
Definitely. It was a pleasure having you as always, TJ, and we'll catch you next week, buddy.
Happy holidays to
Absolutely.
you.
See you guys.
Have a good one. All right, we're going to hit a quick commercial break, and then we're going to welcome on a very special guest, courtesy of Coach Henderson here. So appreciate you on that, Coach B. And then we will go ahead and get into a little bit of TL discussion. And I'm glad both of you guys are here because there's going to be some fun topics to discuss on that one as well.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like Boomstick Lady. No free throw is safe from the roar of her sticks. SeatGeek helps her find a seat in the direct eye line of the shooter so she can sit where her boomsticks make the biggest boom. Everybody okay? SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more. So
I'm just being myself, cool as can be. When I'm being myself, you wish you were me. It's so easy. Get out your own way. It's just so easy.
lot of more comments rolling in here as well. Now we got Mike Davis from the Vegas Nighthawks tuning in. He says, good players make you a better coach, and if you have shitty players, I don't care how good of a play caller you are going to suck. So he's entitled to that opinion as well. Tony says IFL teams have a few coaches suck at play calling, great at bringing money in. But to transition from that onto a coach that we do know has quite the background of being a great play caller, we are joined by Mr. Dorsey Golston. How are you doing this morning, Coach?
What's going on, fellas? My bad, my phone's switching over. Did y'all get me?
Yeah,
We got you.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, Coach B, I'm sure I owe you a thank you for making this happen, obviously, but I figure I'll let you kick this one off for us.
Coach DG, how's it going this morning, brother?
I mean, I'm chilling, bro. Man, my bad for the tardiness, y'all. Man, I had a long day yesterday, man. I was up since about 5 this morning, and I wasn't even paying attention to the time, doing what I always do, looking at film.
Hey, I already know you either in the truck driving or you on film heavy. So how do you feel about this new Lunker signing they got going on? They brought in a AFL quarterback who just played in the championship. I see the Lunkers are making a lot of big signings this year with big time players. How does that correlate with you and what you're gonna do down there, and how's it help the league?
Now, that was a good signing, man. It's always good when you can bring a quarterback like that into the league, man. I think sometimes that's some of these teams' downfall when you ain't got no quarterback that can get that ball around. Like last year, Cato got us out a lot of trouble because he was just able to make the right decision. So that's a good look for them. I mean, it don't bother me. We don't play them no more. They already got foot to us. So Tony, they got to deal with them this weekend. So we see how it looks for them.
Yes.
Coach, talk to us a little bit about the new ownership groups that have taken over there in in St. Joe's for you, and how it's affected everything you've been able to do this year so far.
The main thing is the initial sale is what's hurt us. It put us back a whole lot because at the time they didn't know who was going to be the owner. I know Jeff had took over, and shout out to Tony. Tony had made me aware of some of these things that was going on, and I'm sitting here like I ain't even know. You know what I mean? I thought we had the same ownership. We told me he was going to keep the team. So initially it made it hard because I know Jeff didn't really want to keep the team, so he was working on trying to get rid of us, man, and everything fell behind. So again, we ended up starting the same way this year as we started last year, just behind everything, trying to catch up. But as far as everything goes now, Ted and them is doing a great job. They're starting to move around a little bit. We're able to get some players in here now. I was on a kind of halt on that situation. I couldn't get guys in. Me and my wife had took care of the housing situation because that was one of them situations I knew just had to get done. So on the up and up, everything's like it's moving forward now. The Kelsey situation obviously got the fans in there for the first game. So it looked good.
Out of curiosity, are you involved at all in the sponsorship sale side, or are you strictly coaching?
I'm strictly coaching.
Gotcha. That's fair. I was going to ask how that's affected the
Hey,
sponsorship.
Sam, his favorite quote to us: "We don't worry about what they do in the front office. We just do what we do on the field and let them handle everything else."
Absolutely.
That's how it should be, if you ask me. Let the coaches coach and let the front office people do their job as well. So allow you guys to focus on what needs to get done on the field in order to make that product what it was. But something tells me that worked to near perfection last season.
Near.
It
We
was
don't
close.
talk about last season.
That's fair. I can imagine that was quite.
We salty about last season because Tony get the gloat right now, so we don't want to dwell on the past.
We don't talk about Tony either.
That's fair until he's on the schedule, right?
No, that's my guy. I'm just teasing, man. Tony's a good dude, man. I haven't had a chance to tell nobody this, but last year when I got the hiring, which a lot of people don't know, I got the hiring 30 days before game 1, and Tony was the first person in my inbox congratulating me and telling me where I can get players from. So I always gonna have some respect and some love for Tony, even though he always talking.
No, honestly, that was one of the things that I've really liked so far. And I don't necessarily mean this in a bad manner, so hopefully nobody takes this way. But the TAL has done a good job of hiring coaches that are entertaining, animated. They have personality to them, which I like. I think it's a good fit for what they've got going on with the league.
I think it's good too, Sam. 5 out of 6 TAL coaches come from minority background, right? And so 5 out of 6 from minority background, I think it's a huge deal. Giving coaches outside the box an opportunity to really show their skills. A lot of times we talk about hiring the right coaches. I think the TAL does a really good job at hiring the right people. So
they've done a great job. I think honestly, on every level, especially the coaching, has been great. As far as who's where, I think it's good fits in terms of the area and all that stuff. So, I mean, that's a big thing as well. Coach Golston, when you first got the call to potentially coach the Goats, what were your thoughts on the 6-man football? And was it immediately something where it was no question you were taking the job, or did you have to kind of sit back and question if you wanted to coach this different style of football that they were bringing to the field?
So, in all honesty, I didn't even want to coach football, period. I'm one of them dudes that like to play football. You know what I mean? I played football till I was 39 years old. I'll be 42 tomorrow. And I'm sitting on my couch. Me and my wife was ready to coach some semi-pro football with the team I was playing with before. And shout out to Tyus Jackson. He gave me a call and he said, "Hey, man, opportunity just came up in the town." I'm thinking he talking about for him because I was always defensive coordinator for him in Topeka and stuff like that. So I was like, "Cool, where are we going?" He was like, "It's a head coaching job." I'm like, "For me?" You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? But he was just basically like, "Dog, man, you deserve it. You sat in the background. You helped him out a lot with the defense and stuff in Topeka." So he was like, "Man, just take it." So I just jumped out on faith with him and I took it. And once I got into it, I ain't gonna lie, I fell in love with it. I think I'm just one of those type of people that like to be in charge. So once I got the head duty titles and I had to insert myself into that position, which was also awkward to me because it was weird. Tyus had to come back, so it was weird that I was over him. So I had to kind of insert myself in position first, and then people like B Hen was there to help me out and stuff. So it became cool as far as that part of it goes. And then once we kind of got into it, it was just kind of like 6-man. First thing I did was look it up, and I was excited about it because nobody had ever really seen 6-man. So I knew coming into the season, it's going to have to be some great coaching going on or some bad coaching. We're going to find out who the coaches is really fast because nobody's ever done it. And like I said, us having 30 days prepared for the season, I was really shocked with how well we was able to do it. You know what I mean? And then my offensive coordinator, he actually played defense with me, and people thought it was a bad hire. But I'm like, if you know defense, you're gonna be great on offense, right? He didn't even believe in himself. So once I got him to believe in it a little bit, he looked at it and he was just like, "I could do this." And next thing you know, we scored 90 points in a few games.
Honestly, to look back at the 2024 season and really kind of sit here and consider the fact that you guys only had 30 days to assemble that team and that staff, it's pretty nuts to see what you guys accomplished. But out of curiosity, how did you guys begin working together? When did you become involved, Coach B?
From the jump, me and Dorsey was talking from the jump. I was talking with the owners because I was trying to get the head coaching job, and then they told me what they were looking at, and I reached out to Dorsey. Me and Dorsey got a relationship off the field, like that's big bro. We done played together. I've been looking at Dorsey's been one of the top players in the state of Missouri since we were in high school. So it's a thing called the Missouri versus Kansas All-Star game, and then you got your Metro Sports All Americans. He was one of them, and I was one of them, and he was from the inner city school. Like a lot of it's hard from where we from an inner city public school to get any recognition. And he led every DB in the state of Missouri in tackles and stuff like that. So when they put Dorsey's name up there, I'm like, I know him. You know what I'm saying? I've run track with a lot of those guys there. Me and Dorsey clicked from a young age. And we had a similar background where we both was upbrung in gang areas. So we always used to have fun, talk our little gang stuff to each other. But then bro found the Lord, and he's not afraid to bless you and put faith in you and do everything. So it was fun. It was just a big bro teaching a little bro the game in life. Like last year, he always tell us about football, but he always insert something about God as well. And this dude is just a magician when it comes to drawing up plays. Who wouldn't want to be a part of something that he had going on? And it was for our town. We both got the same love for Kansas City. So we wanted to put Kansas City on the map because we feel like arena football overlooks our city a lot. And from there, it was all she wrote. Like he called, he said, we need players. Let's make this happen. And he's not lying. 30 days. We put a roster together in 30 days. He put game plans together. He's nonstop. I think bro barely sleep. He's up at 3, 4 in the morning because he got his own 18 wheelers. So he driving, calling me on the phone. We recruiting. He still do it now. He's nonstop. Like he goes all day. Like, and I don't know how bro do it, but they picked the right guy for the right job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Obviously, high praise, coming from Coach B, who's definitely outspoken about the people he does not believe in, and outspoken about the people he believes in as well. Krish, do you have anything for Coach G?
Yeah, Coach Dorsey, I appreciate your time. One question I wanted to ask you is about the receiving room this year. I noticed you have a lot more depth. Lorenzo Thompson, Ryan Martinez, Boo Smith. You just added D. Wash. Talk to me about how far the receiving room has come from last year.
So a couple of things happened last year, right? So people figured out late in the season that they could just start double, triple teaming Boo Smith, and then it kind of hurt our offense a little bit, and we had to put Martinez in the backfield. And so this year I was just like, you know what? That ain't happening again. We're going to just go strictly offense. I just wanted receivers. And actually, Lorenzo was an accident. I don't want to say accident, but he wasn't on my initial list of guys I wanted to come in. I had like 3 or 4 guys I was coming in that I was posting about all the time. I was excited. I can't wait to see this roster. And then those guys called me on Wednesday before we supposed to report on Friday. Like, I can't come, coach. So I made to hit up my guy, Oscar, where I get a lot of players from Oscar and Gridiron Crew. So I hit him up, and I was looking at the website, and I was like, hey, man, this dude Lorenzo, he been on here for a while. I didn't think we was going to ever get him because I'm like, dude, he's probably going to sign with somebody in the IFL or something soon. Like, his tape was that good. And when he was still there, I was like, hey, man, hit him up. And he was like, he ready right now, coach. So I was like, I'm on the phone with him at 10 p.m. He's like, when I need to be there? I'm like, tomorrow. So he got on the plane. He got here the next day. Lorenzo's going to be huge for this offense.
Shout out to Lorenzo. That it takes a dedicated player to be able to be prepared to fly out the next day like that. I mean, that's something that I don't think we touch on too much here is these guys have to be financially and physically prepared to just pick up and leave, if you want to play professional football. So that's definitely a factor there. Out of curiosity, I mean, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want. Do the GOATs cover travel for players that are coming in?
So the thing is, I have done it myself out of my own pocket. And so a couple of weeks ago, right, so I had a running back I wanted to come in. And I was like, I got your plane ticket, whatnot. And I was letting him know the housing situation. So anyway, long story short, I got the plane ticket for the kid, and he didn't show up. So now I'm kind of hesitant to do it. I'm like, hey, if y'all need some help, throw me your portion of your bread first. And then once I get your portion, then I go ahead and put my portion in. But if I really want him enough, if I want a player here enough, I'll put my own money down to get him here.
That's quite the dedication, honestly. And that's another thing that I don't think we talk about enough at this level. And and alternative football in general is there are a lot of coaches out here that are throwing down their own money to make things happen and kind of adding on to what the franchise can provide. And it takes a different type to be able to coach at this level and be successful for many years. So got a lot of respect for all you guys that have been able to do it.
Sam, when I seen this man, he picks the players up from the house, the airport, wherever, drop them off where they need to be, make sure they got food. It been days where we just took days out, drove around and got food and made sure players were straight. He does above and beyond what a head coach supposed to do. So I do give him praise on that end.
Something tells me there's a reason why you're so successful as a head coach, and it's probably because your players realize the effort you guys are putting in behind the scenes. So definitely respect that. But so I mean, talk to me a little bit. You said you didn't want to coach. What ended up being the deciding factor for you to actually decide to take the job if you didn't want to be a head coach?
It was Tyus, man. Tyus was just like, take it, DG. He was like, you earned it, you deserve it. He was like, man, just take it. He said, I bet you're gonna love it. And Tyus is my guy. So, anytime somebody that's close to me like that feels that type of way about me and they think I can do something, I'm like, let me at least test the waters and see. You know what I mean? I didn't know, I had no idea how last year was going to even start or end. But the fact that Tyus had that much belief in me to just turn it over and say, take it, man, I was just like, I guess I got to at least give it a shot. So.
Makes sense. Krish, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, Coach. I was gonna ask you, do you anticipate Rakeem Cato coming back at any point this season, or is that ship kind of sailed?
So, being the fact that there's some other people on this broadcast, I'm not going to disclose that information. I say we're going to have to look and see, wait and see.
Rakeem Cato to the GOATs in 2025 confirmed.
Everybody's wondering. I get that same question every game, man. Even like we lose games by one or crap, and people just like, man, it's all good. We know what's about to happen. We know who's coming. I'm like, you're gonna see, man. I don't know. Right now it's Angelo Trujillo. You know what I mean? And he's doing a good job. He's adding diversity to the backfield. Yeah, he's adding diversity with his legs. So I don't know. I said we'll wait and see.
Oh no, he definitely might vote for MVP as like 32 touchdowns in 5 games. So he's a dog.
Yeah, hey, Chris was letting me know Angelo's stats the other day, and I didn't know Angelo had the stats that he had right now as a QB. But I was letting Chris know Angelo actually plays QB in a 6-man flag league. So this ain't nothing new to him. So it was a perfect fit. But I do want to ask, where did you get that running back from?
So hold on, going back to Angelo, right? Angelo's actually a D3 All-American quarterback. And funny story about him, I was actually gonna cut him that week, right? Because I know, he's playing DB for me first, and I was like, he just ain't been playing the way he's used to. I'm used to seeing him play, and I was gonna release him. And then Dylan was having a horrible game at halftime. We put Angelo in there, and he goes out and throws like 7 touchdowns in the half, and he got an interception. I'm just like, well, I guess he ain't getting cut now, right? So shout out to Angelo for being a competitor, hanging in there. Now, your question was what again, B? Oh, the running back?
Yes, sir.
Oh, so I call him No Next. He's talking about Jarius, right? So funny thing about Jarius, he's the only player we got this year from the tryout. Last year, we had like 6-7 dudes that made the team from the tryout. He's the only one that made it this year, right? And I wasn't gonna sign him either because he came on as a receiver. So then, as I get in my truck the next day, he sent me a tape, his highlight tape from college, and I'm looking at he's playing running back and he's just running people over. I'm like, fool, why you didn't try out for running back instead of receiver? Like, you wouldn't even go make the team at all at first. But yeah. But then now I'm glad we got him because he's that good power runner that we need at times.
Interesting. I wonder why. Did he ever elaborate on why he decided to come to the tryout as a wide receiver?
He said basically because it was like 6 running backs there already, wasn't no receiver. So he was just trying somewhere to get looked at. I'm like, I wasn't looking at you there. That's for a fact. But once he sent me his college tape, like the next morning, I was like, golly, boy, like you almost blew the cash.
There you go. Well, hey, good on him for following up, though. That's
for sure.
That's one of those old school ways of doing things. I like it. Out of curiosity, one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about in particular, is it easier or more difficult to recruit given the fact that your guys' season starts in June or late May? Sometimes I feel like it could be an advantage for you because you guys can bring in some players that are,
finishing up NAL, IFL, or AF1 seasons. But then I could see it also being a challenge in the fact that players are going to want to sign with those other leagues first.
So for me, it was harder because this is the first year I ever recruited. Last year I had B-Hand and I had Tyus. And then this year I said I want to, go out and get my own guys. I don't think it's hard in the sense of getting players to come because it's thousands of players all over the country that want to play football. You just got to go find them. Myself personally, I do not like the idea of our league starting later because now, like you said, everybody's scrambling when the NAL is over and the IFL is over, and then people want to grab more players. And now I'm guilty of it myself, right? Because I gotta hang in with the times. And you can't. To me, I just feel like a league should just have the same guys throughout the season versus, oh man, now D-Wash is done. We're gonna go get D-Wash. Like I said, I'm guilty, right? But again, when you do that, I think it kind of makes our level look like it's lesser than what it is. And me and Tony talk about this all the time. I don't see us as a lower level than the IFL or the NAL. And I know people probably disagree with me. Obviously, I was there when the IFL started. I was in the IFL when it originated. And I understand they have the 20 plus years of experience and all that. But when you really think about it, the money's similar, the platforms are similar, you know what I mean? So I don't really look at that as a place where we go, oh man, it's just better than us. So I'm really big on trying to promote the TAL. And I don't think it's really a great look for us to have to go get guys after the season is over. And if a player really want to play with you, then they'll play with you in the beginning of the season when everybody else is playing at the same time.
I could see that as well. And I definitely know that's something Coach B believes in wholeheartedly. He believes the man makes the recruiter for sure. So that's a good point. I like that. I honestly, I've wondered about that because you always see these guys, like you say, go out and get these NAL guys and stuff after the season ends. And you have to wonder, was that in the works from the very beginning? And, how did that all come about and stuff like that? So I always kind of wondered, like, were you guys setting up situations like that ahead of time? Like, did you talk to D-Wash, while he was in AF1 season and just told him like, hey, we got a spot for you when the season's over, or how did that all come about?
Yeah. So in some cases it worked that way. So for example, like Cato, obviously, if our season would have started at the same time as the NAL and the AF1, he wouldn't be playing in Salina. He'd have been here with us. And some of those guys, most of our guys would have been like that. But then when it comes to the second portion of that question, I talked to D-Wash, I think it might have been 5 weeks left in their season. And really, I just didn't want D-Wash to sign with nobody else. That's what it came down to. I was like, I don't want to have to play against him. So I'm like, dude, I want him to be a coach originally. I'm like, dude, come be a coach for me. Like, don't even get on the field. It's all right. You know what I mean? But our offense was kind of struggling. So I was like, forget it. Just come be a player now. But yeah, sometimes we talk to, I don't know what everybody else do, but anybody I have, I've probably been talking to for at least 3 or 4 weeks before they even got here.
That makes sense. That makes sense for sure. Coach O'Neill says we have guys that commit beforehand, then get called up. We won't hold you back. I like that. So that's a big deal as well. And then that was one thing that I wanted to ask you guys about as well. I mean, how do you run it? I mean, if a guy comes in and you originally sign him and then all of a sudden IFL team comes calling, are you going to let that guy go pursue that option if that's what he prefers, or are you going to try and talk him into coming to TAL?
No, absolutely. I'm big on go where you want to go, man. I ain't hold nobody
Go where
hostage.
your
I ain't
heart
the type
is.
of dude to be like, no, you ain't going nowhere. I don't even try to do the whole what they call refuse to report crap. You know what I mean? If you want to go somewhere, go be somewhere else. It happened to me all in the summer. I recruited so many DBs this offseason, and I'm talking about the moment we lost last year in the playoffs. I'm in the car calling people like, "What you doing next year?" And a lot of guys committed, and then they ended up in the IFL and they ended up in the L. And I'm like, cool. I just got to find me some more players. It ain't no big deal. Everybody got to do what's best for themselves, you know.
That's
We
fair.
even had some players last year who we let go to the IFL, and eventually they wanted to come back, but we were doing good. We didn't have no room for them, so it does happen that way as well. It's about the program. They're gonna want to play where they feel welcome and want it, and they know that's gonna do them right. So no matter if they leave, they still gonna want to come back. Like Leon O'Neal, no matter where he at, he gonna come and play wherever we at, no matter what, because he believe in the program.
Well, obviously he has a good reason to believe in the program considering where he's at today. My humble opinion, after the way he played this season, he should probably be in an NFL camp.
If he's not in the NFL camp next year, I'm saying it on the live right now. Got GMs is tripping. All NFL GMs, that is a baller. And I witnessed it firsthand.
He proved it again this season in the UFL. You know, he's one of the best defensive backs in the league, and you know, in my opinion. So I mean, that's another thing. Like to see him fight his way to where he's at right now, he definitely deserves everything coming his way, and deserves more than what he's getting right now, personally. And I have no bias to the guy. I've never actually had a conversation with him, so he balled out this season, so he deserves it. But Coach Golston, we really appreciate your time today. Don't want to hold you up any longer. Obviously, you're a busy guy. You got a lot going on, but you are welcome back anytime you want to come on and chat some football with us.
Hey, I appreciate you
Quick,
guys.
quick.
I was watching y'all last week, and I had to tell B Hen. I said, man, y'all, I salute how knowledgeable y'all are about all these different leagues, man. I don't follow the rest of the in arena leagues like that. Like I said, I was in the IFL when they first became the IFL. And then once I got out, I didn't really pay attention no more. So like to hear y'all talk about so many different players and so many different teams and so many different coaches, I'm like, man, these dudes are good. So shout out to y'all, man. I appreciate the opportunity as well.
I
And Dorsey,
appreciate hearing that.
before you go, man, what's your predictions on the night in the league? Who you got winning in the rest of the league for the night?
Who I got winning tonight between Duluth and the Ozarks?
Yeah.
I got the goats. I got the goats, man. Wherever win that game, it don't matter to us, man. We got to take care of our own business. But to be honest with you, man, Duluth, man, that's just the team. They take care of business. I got to give it to them. And the more film I've been watching on them, they're very sound in what they do. They're very disciplined. But I don't think the Ozarks is far behind, especially with a quarterback now. I think those dudes, they was pretty athletic when we played against them. Their running back is a dog. You know what I'm saying? Their receiving core are dogs. I just think they might just needed a quarterback. So I think it's going to be a nice heavyweight bout tonight. We're going to see.
Tony said, do your part so we can get our rematch.
Hey, so the thing is, I'm not even going to speak on that again because we said that last time I talked to him. I was like, we'll see. And then we fell short. But there's no one working, Coach. There's no one working.
I love it. I love it. And like I said, I love the fact that you guys, there's some competitive trash talk, and it's very clear that you guys are having fun with it at the same time, because it seems like there's a ton of mutual respect between all the different coaches in the league. So I really like that factor of the TAL so far, and I hope that continues. And I don't know if that's by design on the league's part or if that's just how it happened, but it's been fun to follow along with Coach O'Neill and some of the smack talk that goes back and forth between the teams. So that's a fun aspect for the fans as far as I'm concerned. So I hope you guys don't change that anytime soon if the league happens to catch this. But once again, Coach, really appreciate your time today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and best of luck going forward in your season. And hopefully we see you guys in the playoffs.
For sure. God bless you. I appreciate it. We'll be there.
Definitely. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
All right.
Once again, that was Coach Dorsey Golston of the St. Joe Goats. Obviously a very impressive coach and somebody I had not known a lot about beforehand, and glad we got him on to learn a little bit more about his career.
Yeah, he deserves the opportunity to be at the highest level possible, man. That dude is solid, man. Like, you can tell, like, he doesn't do it for the show. Like, he really does care about the guys and what he does. So we need people like that. West Texas, that's who you should have hired. Someone like that, So take notes, man. I hope all these teams are watching for real.
I'm not gonna lie, Shady. When I got the head coaching job at Iowa, he was the first person I called to be my DC. And he said, "B Hen, if you was in Kansas City, I'll be your DC. But you in Iowa and I can't commit." So he was the first call I made. I'm talking about if you want somebody who's on game plan, I haven't seen the coach out scheme him as a D coordinator yet. So he's the man.
That's fair. That's fair for sure. And honestly, I mean, just talking to him, you can tell he's got a passion for the sport, and I think that shines through to players. So I mean, sometimes I think a player's coach, like a guy like him, is going to get a better response from players on the field typically because they know he's been there and done that. So I think that's always a good aspect.
And he played arena for 10, 12 years like I did. He played for the original Omaha Beef. He was out there with them. He done played around all the Kansas City teams. So he knows the game. Ain't like he's just telling that he's a coach and a player.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, I hate to cut this episode short, but I have to jump off of here soon. If you guys want to continue and go through the betting segments and all that, that's perfectly fine, and I can just hop off. But I don't want to end the episode early on you. So, Krish, that's up to you, man.
Yeah, we'll stick around and talk some IFL. I got some stuff to say. So
All right.
And some more NAL, man.
Sounds good. Well, you guys have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you, everybody who tuned in so far. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, comment, jump over to the YouTube channel, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We are rounding the corner to 2,500 subscribers. We've been jumping up really quickly lately, so we appreciate all the support, but it can always be better. So if you're watching on Twitter right now, if you're watching on Instagram, Facebook, any of these other platforms, jump over, hit the subscribe button. It's free to do, doesn't cost you a thing, and in the process, it helps us continue to make great content like this. So on that note, I will catch you guys next weekend. Have a great weekend, and
Appreciate you, Shady.
Absolutely appreciate you, Coach. Thanks for always coming on, and hope you guys have a great rest of your show.
all right, Coach B.
Hey, Chris, I do want to give a shout out to my two squads, St. Joe Goats and my Iowa Power. Go ahead and like both of those pages. Two teams that we deal with heavy. I'm a part of, so go follow them. The Goats will be in the championship in the TAL, and the Power going to win the UIFA this year. So we got two doggone programs. Go follow and like those pages.
For sure. But no, Coach B, I wanted to get your pick for tonight. Duluth Ozarks, Coach Tony versus Coach Cam, man. Coach Tony has been very outspoken about what he thinks is going to happen tonight.
I'm not going to lie. I like Coach Cam, but I just don't think he's going to beat Coach Tony. And when me and Dorsey was saying that, talking about that, Dorsey wasn't playing. I like what Tony's doing. A lot of people say Tony probably didn't deserve it last year, but he proved he deserved it this year. As far as game plan and recruiting, the way he's handling himself as a professional. So I think Mike Blakely might grow like that as well. You know what I'm saying? Getting the opportunity and then just evolving. But I do take Duluth tonight, and I got St. Joe as well.
Yeah. What's your score prediction for Duluth Ozarks tonight?
Oh, you put me on the spot, Chris. I think I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say Duluth by 14.
Yeah, I think Ozarks will definitely score on that defense. That defense is good, but I definitely see Ozarks scoring like 35. I feel like I see Duluth scoring like
35. That's a lot.
61-35. Yeah, I think it'll be a shootout.
Okay.
Honestly,
all right. I'll give you that. Buddy.
But no,
I got a question for you though.
Yeah.
Do you see all the franchises lasting the rest of the season in the TAL, or do you see any coaches not lasting, or you see any coaches that you think could be improved in the TAL this year?
I know what you're trying to hit at, Coach. I know who you're talking about. You're talking about my boy in Eau Claire, man. But like, look. I'm gonna defend my boy Tay till the end of time, man. Look, man, Tay is 29 years old. He's doing the best he can, and I think he'll be able to bounce back. What I will say is, Eau Claire not going to win anything this year. I've come to that realization. Coach B, I was a huge supporter of Eau Claire. I was telling you that they were going to be in the championship.
Do you think he tapped out?
I was wrong, man. It's over. It's over for Eau Claire, man. It's over. Coach B Coach O'Neill last week talked about the wishbone offense they try to run, and he was absolutely right. I went back and I watched a couple of games, and it's horrible, honestly. So
I've been saying they need him and Bones. The only thing gonna hurt them down the end of the line. What I've always been saying.
But I think Bones has more experience. Like Bones is.
But it's still, you can't be the only coach on the field, on the staff. You got to have other coaches, and I think that's where Tay and Bones is going to hurt in the long run. They the only coach on the staff, and they got to bring in more guys.
Yeah, but the only thing is, Coach, is with Bones. It's like these owners, they don't want to spend on an assistant, right? So they kind of don't have that luxury to bring in. I feel like Hot Springs had enough veterans on the team that they could play that role of an assistant coach, if that makes sense. But
that defeats the purpose of a player and a coach. And that's another thing going back to the owners. We have to have the budget for a viable coaching staff. You can't go into football, any football. I don't care if it's flag football, arena football, 8-man, 9-man, 11-man, 6-man. You have to have a coaching staff. If you don't have a budget for coaching staff, players, and marketing, it's no point of trying to be an owner because you're doing the league, the game, and the community a disservice.
So what about DWAS in Southwest Kansas? Right? I know you talked about, I mean, we both heard, DWAS basically runs the team, right? Do you think he had a say in play calling or no?
I don't know, but I know we've heard it from players we talked to. They say pregame, he does whatever he want to do. He runs the show. He sit back. Some of the stuff we heard that he was doing during pregame, I never knew a player was able to do that type of stuff. So it goes on what the program allows and what your coaches allow you to do as a player. D-Watt's a big time veteran. So some coaches might feel he's earned the right to do what he needs to do or what he wants to do.
I heard a rumor that Colorado, one of their linebackers, was calling the defense too, and I believe it. So, Coach B, I think it all depends on where you put your vets and kind of where you use them in the right way or not. I mean, I think having a good coaching staff is very valuable, and I think that's what will help Duluth in the long run. But I don't think Ozarks, they don't have enough experience on their staff too. Like, I can't name another coach on their staff, honestly. So
Coach Lee, he a veteran coach, older guy. Coach Lee, good. I don't know how much he works with them, but Coach Lee is the man. He's coached up here in Kansas City. Some of the semi-pro teams, he does know what he's doing. He's coached 8-man before, so they do got some credible coaches on their staff. I can say that. Don't know why. I know Speedy was a 1 week and done down there, so
I don't know what happened.
I do want to get Speedy on the show to find out what happened because you went from the Ozarks to the Lunkers. So you truly an Ozark at heart, baby.
Yeah, you are. No, but yeah, we'll take a little quick commercial and then we'll go back and we'll talk some IFL. I wanted to talk about.
You want to talk about Mass, don't you?
No,
Thursday night win, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to talk.
Okay. It's okay because you blew my phone up after that win. Like, oh yeah, I told you the truth.
I know. I have to remind them, man. They disrespect us too much, man. All I hear is Mike Davis.
No, honestly, we don't. You gotta. As a broadcaster and a reporter, you gotta be honest with yourself. Yes. We don't discredit you. Y'all haven't played up to your ability. Y'all underachieved this season too, as a team. Because nobody expects y'all to have the record y'all have with the players and the front office and the coaching staff that y'all been having. Even the coaches before Manas were good coaches. And the players you got are some of the same players. So it's called production. We hold y'all to a higher standard when you put yourself on that higher standard.
I get that, but I mean, our staff has really come together. We'll talk more about it on the other side, but I feel like I want to really take you through kind of the coaching change and the culture change that Coach Manas. I mean, Coach Manas is one of the best coaches. He's on the Mount Rushmore of coaches for me. It's Coach Arbet, Coach Keith, and Coach Manas, all in that same conversation. But we'll talk about it after the break. I'm going to just run up quick.
I'm just being myself, cool as can be. When I'm being myself, you wish you were me. It's so easy. Get out your own way. It's just so easy.
Get in the game at BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. Over 50 sports, live betting, online casino, horse racing, esports, and more. Start now and enjoy easy deposits, fastest payouts, and the biggest bonuses. And for over 25 years, BetUS is a name you can trust. Mention TV 150 now and get up to 150% in bonuses. BetUS, we've got your game. Call or visit BetUS.com now to join.
Now, Coach B, so I kind of want to, discuss the IFL, what we got going with that and the playoff picture, if I can, share it on my screen right now. But no, I mean, look. So you look at the IFL, right? And I think the league is obviously competitive right now. I mean, for me, I look at the Eastern Conference and I say the Eastern Conference is more competitive than the West. I respect what they do out in the West, but those 4 playoff teams are already decided. For me, when Tucson lost last week to Vegas, that was kind of the final coffin for them. I feel like I don't think Tucson will be able to bounce back. But I do want to try to share this.
You know, y'all signed Smoke, right? That Mass.
Yeah, Smoke's been with us for a while. He's a
You
good
know,
dude.
we was on him. He was just about to be coming to the goats.
No way, really?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what you say, y'all with Mike got me because he called and Smoke changed his mind.
So here, what we got for the IFL standings. I don't know if you can see. We'll move it down to the western side. But I mean, Coach B, man, you look at these standings. Let's start with the West. How do you see things kind of shaking out, and where do you see the teams kind of finishing?
I got Bay Area always on top. San Diego came on strong. I like what San Diego's doing out there. Look like like Roy Coy got 2 stabilized franchises that's on top in the West right there. Vegas, they came back. I thought Vegas started off shaky. I didn't know where they were going with that, but they came back strong. I like that. In Arizona, uh, I'm not surprised about Tucson or Northern Arizona. I feel they needed coaches changes and culture changes down there. So that where they at in the standings proves what the coaching culture is down there. Uh,
Right, I agree with
San,
you.
San Antonio, I don't know what's going on down there. I think they have one of the best setups in arena football for them to be not producing and winning with the players they brought in and the money they spending and the facilities they give these people. I don't know what's going on down there.
What would you do with San Antonio going forward? Like, do you think they keep the same staff or they move on?
I think it's time for a change in the whole staff. Honestly, uh, can, you moved on from the head coach, and honestly, we starting to see it might not have been him because he went to another program and turned it around and doing what he was supposed to do in San Antonio. So now you bring in the coach that was up under him and keep the same staff, and it's still not working. I think it's time to move on. It's time to start a new culture and direction down there.
Right, and I agree. I think you look at the standings, right? I got Bay Area finishing number 1. For my number 2 seed, I think San Diego is going to go 2-2 and get that number 2 seed. Vegas, to me, I haven't seen enough from Vegas. I think their offense is amazing, but I think that defense is the liability, honestly.
You got Mike Davis down there though. He always willing to pull a hat out the bag at the last minute. Do never count out Davis. He
Yeah,
is one of the best coaches. I love Coach Davis from when he was with Nebraska Danger. He know what he's doing. And he has one of the best financial setups down there as well. So it's not hard bringing in players or sustaining a culture down there.
But can they win in the playoffs? Like the Jed and the Lower have the experience to win them in the playoffs.
I don't think they can win in the playoffs. That's the only thing right now with the roster they got.
But yeah, San Antonio, I think they need some changes. I could see them bringing back Coach Fuller and
Tucson. I think they just need to switch it up a little bit. I love. It always falls on the coordinators, but I think Kaiser doing a good job down there with what he got, and I think he just needs more, and he's not getting more because anywhere Coach Back is, it's always more about the offense anyway out there. So
I don't think Coach Back and Coach Kaiser will ever work together again. Honestly, I think that's a gone relationship. If you ask me, I mean, you see Coach Back what he says post game about the defense, right? I think the offense needs to. I mean, Jorge Reyna's good, but he's not a playoff winning quarterback in this league. So I agree with you, Coach. I think the whole staff in Tucson will be let go. I think Coach Back will go back to the AFL. Coach Back's an AFL coach. What do you think about Coach James in Northern Arizona, Coach? You think they'll go ahead and fire him or they'll bring him back for a year?
I think they're gonna bring him back, despite me agreeing with that. I think they should let him go, but because he doesn't fit the IFL game, he needs to go get an AFL job. But I think because he's a successful coach and a Hall of Famer coach, they're gonna bring him back.
So my question for you, Coach, is you look at these open jobs, right? Let's say Iowa, Northern Arizona, and Tucson become open. And San Antonio. So 4 open coaching jobs. Give me each of the teams and who they should go out and hire. Give me some names other than yourself. Give me some names.
I would say you got Maurice Purify is ready for a head coaching job. You got some quality coaches out there. Much as people don't like Mook Zimmerman. He's always been a winning coach everywhere he was, except at the Woo, and he even pulled it off at the end to make the championship at the Woo. So you can't discredit him because he made the necessary adjustments at the end of the season as a coach to do what he needed to do to get in the playoffs and make it a big dance. Honestly, I feel like LJ needs to have a coaching job. Todd Pease down there in Beaumont can be a head coach. You got quality guys, quality coaches everywhere. So it's quite a few coaches. I feel like you got Rocky Hines. Nobody says his name, but he'll be a hell of a coach somewhere. You got it's a few guys out here I can name that deserve a shot. Donovan Morgan definitely deserves a shot. Who wouldn't give Captain Morgan a shot? That's what I'm crazy about. One of the most indoor arena all-time leading receivers ever, and him and Purifier. I think Reggie Gray deserves a shot as a head coach somewhere. Those 3 should automatically be on somebody's list as a head coach.
Yeah, so for me, I go and I look at this, and I think Rod Windsor from Bay Area, he definitely deserves an opportunity. I think Les Moss, Les Moss is a head coach in the league. He's a winning head coach. Les Moss, another name.
With Coach Moss, though, he don't want to be a head coach no more. He just wants to be a coordinator. He done head coach so long for over a decade. I think he just sitting back and chilling right now, being a coordinator.
Right, and I see that, but I mean, another coach I think that deserves an opportunity, my boy in Indy, Keontae Northington, defensive coordinator. Man, he's a young coach.
Not yet. I think Keontae needs a couple more years coaching. Me previously coaching Keontae, he's still a player at heart. And you can tell what them with that DB room down there, Fish and Freight this year. It started off strong and fell off. So I think he just needs a few more years.
Right, I see that, but I think maybe two more years.
I would take James Romaine as a head coach before I did Keontae Northington. Right.
I don't think so. I think what happened with Romaine in Colorado this year. I think Romaine is a great coordinator, but being a head coach, Coach B is a different breed. You got to build your program around culture, and I don't know if Coach Romaine had that experience to be a head coach yet. What do you think? I know you.
I think if we saying between him and Keontae, I would take him before Keontae. I think he's a little more polished and ready, and been in the rooms and in the rooms and rubbed elbows with certain people. He knows what to expect and how he has to move now as a coach.
The IFL, I feel, is a different breed. I see.
I think Romaine, Purify, Keontae, they fit in the NAL. You got
I think Hurted Chin in Vegas, they did him dirty in Tucson. And I'm kind of happy that Tucson
Chin been a head coach in a few places though. He's been around for a while. You gotta realize I played against Chin. He's about my age. He's been around. He had a good setup in Nebraska with the danger after Mike Davis left too. So he's had his opportunities. I think it's that's true. What Mike Davis said, a lot of coaches don't want to move to a new city and take on that responsibility.
Right. I mean, the pay is a thing too, right? And responsibility. I think Coach Davis, he knows better than us, right? Like he hit it on the nail. I mean, I think for us, in mass, right? I've heard
You
things.
see what you see what Coach Davis said too. It's very rare for a new coach to get a head coaching job in the IFL.
Right, but I think existing coordinators should be looked at more for head coach.
Yes, and just to piggyback off that, Coach Davis, I think that's wrong. It don't matter. I think they should give the job to the best guy. We keep recycling the same coaches for these head coaching jobs, and it's just recycling the old with the old. It's time to bring in new. It's time to give in a new culture. Just like social media change, we got to change as well. It's guys that can do it. Y'all might not think they can do it, but I think it's certain guys that can do it. We just need the opportunity and the chance and a good ownership backing.
And I will clarify, Coach. When I say that, I think in more like general terms. I think like if you're a coordinator, like Peyton Riggs in Sioux Falls, I think Peyton Riggs is ready for a head coaching job, for real.
Yes,
for sure. Where he comes from, his dad, everything. And I know people will say, that's nepotism, but I don't think so. I think he did an amazing job with that offense last year, and I think he could be a head coach in the league. So, I mean, Iowa, they need to do a good job and make sure they have a good national search.
has that Iowa job became available, or you just think it's going to be available?
I will become available. Like, I know that for a fact. I mean, I've heard, sources that told me they're already looking at candidates and see Coach Davis follows up with. I don't disagree with you, but again, some coaches aren't good at selling themselves. Yeah, agree. Yeah, no.
That's another thing. You have to interview right. But as far as when you get in the room, you got to sell yourself. But sometimes I think it's a discredit because some of these guys, these candidates, not even on the list. They're given a list by the lead or by other people of old recycled coaches. So they go off of that list because they trusted what these people or old investors are saying. So I think they do got to broaden their searches and do more of a national search and do more of a proper interview circuit with. You interview a few old coaches, you interview a few new coaches, interview a few minorities, you interview a few other people. You know what I'm saying? I think and then you make the final decision at the end. That way it's a fair shot for everybody.
Right. And
these teams already got their head coach decided before they even announce where they're going.
Yeah, and that's an issue, but I see why in the IFL. Again, this is why the IFL is the number one league. The reason why we see recycled, quote unquote, and I agree with that term, Coach B. We've spoken about it before. But the reason why we see that is because someone known to run a program versus someone new, sometimes new can scare off some folks. You know what I mean? Like if from a professional standpoint, a lot of these guys, like, okay, Rod Miller, right? I hear, I know some people think, oh, Rod Miller gets too many chances to be a head coach. But Rod Miller knows how to uphold the professional standard, right? Rather than bringing in someone who doesn't. So I see why certain coaches get opportunities. I expect Rod Miller to be a head coach next year for somewhere. But I see why. In terms of, what Coach Davis is saying, like, yeah, I think pay definitely does need to be increased for head coaches. I think head coaches should be paid well. Especially for in the IFL, the game planning, the time. It's not like the other leagues, and that's not me discrediting anything. But the IFL requires the most amount of game planning for sure because you're going against the best of the best every week.
The IFL is a full-time year-round job.
It is.
You know what I mean? And I think for any lead or all these other leagues need to look at that. When you hire these coaches, you got to hire them for the whole year, not for the season. Because this is a full-time job and they taking time away from their family, their personal lives. You got to do recruiting, you got to do game planning, staffing. You got to make sure logistics is handled on a lot of different fronts. So you got to invest in your coach when you do that. And I know you want to pick the right guy when you do that, but I think you got to, if you want to be a successful indoor or arena team, that's a year-round job for a coach.
So, Coach Davis, when you say paid well, for me, and I might be a little, biased towards this, but this is my personal opinion. I think 20 to 25,000 for an indoor football league head coach is more than fair. What do you think, Coach B? If you're not selling sponsorships without selling 20 to 25.
I think that's kind of on the low end, honestly.
But it's how much money are these teams really making? 20, 25,000 seems like a pay like fair range to me. I think. I mean, for
Let's ask our viewers to you guys. What do you think is a fair wage for a head coach of an indoor or arena team?
Yeah, I'm interested. I mean, I see that, but
that's what I'm talking about, Coach Dave. That's what coordinators make. You know what I mean? That's why I said that's on the low end of a first year head coach who doesn't have experience and a team with not a lot of money. That's what you give them.
Right, but Coach Davis, when I say 20, 25,000, I'm talking like about a new team. You know what I mean? Like a new team fresh off the block. Maybe pre-established teams, yeah, I agree. It should be more. It should be like 40, 45, maybe 35, right? But newer teams like the New Mexico team.
I'm with Coach Davis. You shouldn't bring in a coordinator less than 20K. Your coordinators shouldn't make less than 20K. Between 20 and 30K is your coordinators. Just depending on they knowledge of the game, how long they've been coaching, playing, and whatever, they be on the higher end. Your newer coordinators about 20, 25K. But your head coaches, you gotta pay them, man. That is a tough job. They playing damn near 20 games a season. And they gotta coach year round recruiting. You know what I'm saying? Some might help with sponsorship. You never know. It's just I'm not paying. I like what Coach. You see what Coach Davis said there. It's just like any other business. When you get people who will come over here in the economy and work for less, they're gonna pay those people's less than what the people that's really worked what that job is worth because they budget. So you got to sell yourself and make sure you get the most out of yourself. Get your most work when you interviewing as these jobs and you negotiating your contracts because you got to realize this your livelihood.
I agree, Coach. And what Coach Davis's point is, sometimes as a candidate, you have to hold yourself to a level of responsibility, right? You take a job and it doesn't work out, but you knew the risks associated with it, right? And that's why it's important to maintain a network, right? So you can reach out to someone like Coach Davis or reach out to someone like, an established coach in the industry. Hey, should I take this job or not? But a lot of guys, I agree, they don't take those steps and they end up putting themselves in, a shitty situation and there's no out. Would you uproot yourself? No, not at all. Not at all, Coach. Nah, my first job's about to be like 6 figures or less, man. Come on now. Nah, absolutely not. No. But it's 25. Yeah, and we got Coach Loban tuning in. Good to see you, Coach Low. But yeah.
Hey, tell him again, Lord. He better be local if he get 25K.
I man, that maybe that's on me, but I was kind of underselling it, man. I'm trying to, consider the fact that these teams don't make much, right? Especially newer teams, newer franchises.
But what are you saying? What do you think it costs to run a arena football team, indoor team, no matter what level it is? Because at every level it's the same. No matter what, you're gonna pay for the same stuff. Just different leagues require different amounts to buy in and stuff like that. But what do you think is a reasonable amount for an owner to have to run a team in arena football, Chris?
If you want to do it the right way, you need 750,000 to 850,000. If you want to do it the right way,
750K to almost 1.52 million is what you need because you got to realize you're gonna take a loss the first 2 years. You got to recuperate that unless you got a hell of a sales and marketing team. Who's gonna get those corporate sponsorships you need and those big dollars, those big bucks? If you don't invest in marketing, social media, your coaching staff, and your player budget, you won't succeed as a team. So your marketing budget got to be just as good as your damn near your coaching budget. because you got to be able to sell and get sponsors and sell tickets and do all that.
I mean, and I understand that. Like, I know how pricey it is to run one of these teams too. Up here in Mass, I mean, we do things. We're a top
And
class.
it depends on where you stay at too, what area of the town in, cost of living there. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. 750 is on the low end. That's for a team on a lower league level can run a team like that, like a UIFA or something like that. Those budgets, but you got to be in the millions or up to run a real arena team. If you
Yeah.
don't have that, you're gonna be in trouble.
How much does it cost to run a TAL team? That's my question. Is it that 750K range or is it more? First, I mean, 7-on-7, I feel like it would be less. In terms of housing, because you need to understand a lot of these TAL teams, they have a lot of local guys too, so that helps too. And that's another thing.
It depends on how you're doing it too. Like you just heard Dorsey say, we got hired 30 days before our season started. So we had to come in and find, they didn't have housing or nothing yet either. So we had to find housing. We ended up paying more for Airbnbs and apartments than we would if we got a trade deal or something like that. So we didn't even have time to work out deals. So you just say you don't get no trades and you got to come out of pocket. You well over $1 million now. Because housing, what do you think these apartments cost? They're not lowering their rate for you. They might give you a deal, they might not give you market rate, but you're gonna pay something. So I think we spent more money on housing last year than we spent on anything else with the Goats.
Right, and I think it's a really interesting conversation, and we should do iPay. Wow. I mean, it is Las Vegas, so I can understand that. But
that's why I said it depends on where your team is placed at too. Say you got a team like Stockton. How much you think it's gonna be cost of living in Stockton? It's gonna be somebody's travel expense for the year.
A lot, yeah. That's why I don't think it can work out in California. Unless you're Roy Choi, a lot. Yeah, Stockton is
Now, take that. Davis is in Vegas, but Roy Choi in Bay Area is San Jose. How much you think cost of living out there in San Jose is?
A lot. Probably closer to I can't even think. Probably 800.
A 1-bedroom apartment in San Jose is $3K.
Right. I mean, that's insane if you think about it, if you do the math on it. But no, I mean, it's an interesting conversation too. I think we should do a whole episode on how much it really costs and stuff. Because, I think everyone wants to buy a team until they see the cost associated with it. And that's what the IFL does. They do a good job of letting people in that actually have the resources to run teams. And that's why Beaumont won't get an IFL. Beaumont won't get an IFL because of that.
And that's another thing when it comes to Coach Davis said, selling yourself. Some coaches have that like him. He knows how to be a GM. He knows how to work the front office. You know what I mean? If you're a head coach who can do that type of stuff, know how to run numbers and budget, can get sponsorships, your worth is going to be more than a coach who just coaching. So you got to think about that too.
Well, Coach Davis also has connections at the CFL level. Outside of us and Mass, he's moved up to second most guys, in the IFL. And so I think it speaks a lot to how he utilizes his connections for good. I
think he's number one on guys moved up in the IFL because you got to realize, Mash, I wasn't even in the league when Davis was in the league. He been having guys go up since Nebraska Danger and all that. So I think he actually number one.
I mean, he's number one all the time, but since we've been in the league, no one moves up guys like Jawad the team does. So, I mean, I'll stand by that till I die. But
check out some of these comments. I'm trying to see some of these comments.
Yeah. We got Coach Q, former head coach of San Antonio Gunslingers. He's a new team. You have to think smart. You want to bring in 15. Yeah, to be competitive, it's absolutely. It depends where you are. If you're in Frisco had a lot of local guys. Frisco built their team off locals. I think Frisco had like 10 to 11 local players. I respect that. And then, NASCAR comparison is interesting too. But yeah, I think again, Coach B, it's all about market where you are, where you're at too. And, and kind of what your demographic is and your market and all that. But, before we get out of here, I do want to do our IFL playoff predictions. And I want you to give me your playoff. We'll start with the West, and give me like who you think is going to go to the championship, and then we should do our championship predictions as well. I know it's kind of early, but what do you think, Coach B?
Playoffs, I got Bay Area, San Diego, and Vegas on the West. Arizona might sneak in, never know. On the East, I'm gonna go with Quad City, Jacksonville, and Green Bay. And I think the championship would be Bay Area versus Quad City.
And I respect that, 2 number ones, but we have the best defense in the IFL, so.
I don't think it's gonna be hard for Mash to get in, bro.
Nah, bro, we're about to oil them boys up next week. Come on now, Coach B. I mean, we have the best defense in the league, and we're already in the 4th seed. We just got to win out, in which we can easily beat Tulsa next week. We can easily beat Green Bay, and then
I don't know. Green Bay is a challenge. Tulsa without a quarterback, that's a win for y'all.
I'm not saying it's easy, but we got out of the mud last year too. Everyone was counting us out, disrespecting us, and we ended up going to Vegas.
I think you make the playoffs, but you lose in the first round.
Nah, Coach David, I misspoke. I didn't say easily. I meant I think it's not like we don't have a chance to win. It's like we have a chance to win. You know what I mean? Like we're in the game. They're not going to blow us out. Like I feel like we can easily beat. So I think so. This is my standings. I got Quad City 1. At number 2, I got Green Bay. At number 3, I got actually not. Let's see, Quad City, Jacksonville. Number 3, I got us, and number 4, I got Green Bay. And then I think,
oh wow,
yeah, I think we played Jacksonville in the first round, and Coach Gibson, man, that would be so fun. But no, I feel like we can beat Jacksonville. I feel like we got a good pass rush. It'll be a competitive game, and then I think, yeah, Coach David. That's when we had our original coaching staff. We got some. No other team has been through what our team has been through. Changing coaches.
He got a point. You can't give yourself credit for players that already been in the league that's going back to the league because they already been there. They had the connection before y'all with.
But would they move up if they were on the couch? Think about it like that, right? If they
yeah. If you got an agent and your agent is, if you got Drew Rosenhaus, you can sit on the couch for a year and still go get a team on the next year. So it depends on your agent.
Look at Cyrus Fagan. You know what I mean? He hadn't played football for 3 years, and he came over, and he got moved up to CFL. He wasn't in the CFL before that, right? So Cyrus, by playing with us, he got to look at the next level. I can go off and name some guys. I do agree it is impressive when you take a guy who doesn't have the looks and then gets moved up. Absolutely. I'm not taking anything away from Coach Davis. But I also want to, not forget the 27-year-old who built a 70, win franchise, who moved up over, 70 guys in our franchise's history. So I think it's really impressive.
But out of those 70 guys, a lot of them had already been in the league. That's what we're saying. So they was in the league before y'all would even have hands on them. His connections got somebody he connected with, got him in touch with him, and they was able to come and continue to get film, but they was already in the league. So they already had that connection before y'all would. So you gotta take those players off because they've already had some kind of mainline stream to the league before him. And
I know what mentally prepares you to get to the next level. He holds everyone accountable. So that's a big thing. It's like the mental aspect. When we move guys up, we've never had a guy move up and have issues at the next level. They're prepared mentally from being in a competitive environment here. So I think Jawad does an amazing job at that, and he doesn't get enough credit. Jawad is the best, best scout in the league, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And people could say, oh, the resources, the this.
I won't discredit his scouting. He does a good job of signing and getting players in there. Uh, but he has the budget to do it. When you got the budget to do it, you do it the right way. And that's what he's doing. So I don't discredit that. I give him credit. I think people don't discredit him. They might just say he's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the money all day, but relationships equal more than money, and he does a great job building relationships. And players want to play for him, and so that's why we've had different head coaches every season, but we're still maintaining a level of success. I understand why what people might say about our head coach situation. I get it. I see how it looks on the outside, but at the end of the day, we win consistently. I see Coach Davis' comment, this isn't about me or Gerard, it's about helping players. I agree, and Coach Davis, you do an amazing job at helping players. But for me, from my perspective, I see, what Gerard does and what you do, and I think, and I want to pull up this on the website too, just so we can have, some ideas about. So there's a tab on our website, and we're the only team in the league that has a tab, and so you can see. And it talks about all about moving up guys. So these are the guys that moved up. So, all right.
Hey, Leon O'Neal Jr. was with me, not y'all.
Nah, Leon O'Neal played with us before.
He played with y'all, but he was signed to me last year when he got moved up.
I understand it.
So y'all can't take that credit because he was on a different team.
Because I helped facilitate that signing to Iowa. Number one, Leon O'Neal was us. Our guy. He played with us. So he moved up because of us.
He moved up because he was balling. And that's why he led the UFL in tackles and damn near interceptions this year. And I guarantee you.
UFL. I understand that. Okay. Now let's go to another name, right? All right, Jaden Woodby. Jaden Woodby was on the couch for 2 years, and he came and played with us, and he moved up to Winnipeg. So that was us. That was us moving him up, right, from playing with us. He got the film from us, right? And then, Cyrus, again, 2 years, all right? Now let's go. Yeah, he's playing in San Diego now, Coach Davis. But where did he play first? We were the ones that brought him in the league. Like a lot of teams down west, they get our leftovers, right?
It was a lot of vendors that sold beer to a bar at one point, but that don't mean they take credit for the bar sales.
No. If they play with us and they move up, that's us moving up the guy. That's how that works. We brought them in the league. No, I don't think you know what I mean. And then we go 2024. McMillan, again, another guy, 2 years at home, played with us. Dante Demons, you could argue, and I'll give you that. Yes, he was with, he got back outdoors. It might not have been because of us, because he hardly played for us. So I will give you Dante Demons. All right, CJ, yes, he played for us for 3 games, and he got moved up. All right, and then you go Josh Gable, right? He played with us. He also played in Nebraska, so I can argue that's my boy. So Jariah Branch, that's all us. So it's how you look at it. But that's all I gotta say on that. And I appreciate Coach David chiming in. Definitely gotta get you on the show. But I do want to just do my IFL predictions real quick, and then we'll get out of here. But okay, so all right, so let's see. All right, so let's do this real quick. All right, so I got Quad City, Jacksonville, Green Bay match. I got us beating Jacksonville in the first round. I got Green Bay upsetting Quad City. I got us and Green Bay in the playoffs. And then I think we'll beat Green Bay. We'll go to championship. I feel like our team is hot at the right time. I'm biased though. For the West, I got San Diego beating Vegas in the first round of the playoffs. San Diego defense is so tough. And then San Diego signing a new D lineman coming up. So he was with us previously. San Diego is about to make a big move. It's going to shock the indoor football universe once you see who San Diego just signed. But San Diego is going to be Vegas, and then Bay Area is going to be Arizona. It's going to be Bay Area, San Diego for the championship. And I like Bay Area. So I like us in Bay Area in the championship, and whatever happens, happens. So I'm biased, though, but I really believe we are going to make the championship, and we're going to bring one home.
I like that. I like that angle, Chris. I like that angle.
Yeah, Guy Thomas. See, yeah, Coach Davis already knows, man. He's already ahead of the 8 ball. So Guy Thomas, he was a D lineman with us. He got cut, because again, it's a competitive environment. You can't just walk in and earn your spot here. You got to fight for food every day. And Guy Thomas, he got his food taken away, and so now he's in San Diego. And I'm happy for Guy. He's a great person. I thank him for all his contributions. But I'm really happy about our new D lineman we have, man. Dominic Quino from Southern Miss. There's no one better I would want at interior D line than who we have now. So that's Coach Menas. He fits Coach Menas' scheme better too. So Guy Thomas will do great in San Diego. And again, San Diego should say thank you to us. We should get a playoff ring from San Diego. They're our JV team, basically, right? San Diego is our JV team. Same thing with Tucson, right? We're basically doing free scouting for these teams. Even Vegas, you could argue, but I won't do that to Coach Davis, right? Darius Williams.
You just like starting, don't you?
I know. Darius Williams is from us, right? That's our DB that we developed that went through the storm with us, right? So we helped, and he's one of their best DBs in Vegas. So you can say thank you to us for that. But last week, our offensive coordinator got thrown out of the game unfairly for contacting an official, right? And if you watch the film, he was done dirty. So for me,
your boys forgot to step up last week, Chris.
That's why. If he was there the whole game, he would have won. Because
one monkey don't stop no show. It's the next man up.
Not when it comes to play calling. Play calling is a different breed, Coach. We talk about this all the time, But
who your pick'ems for this week? Because I'm kind of up there in the win column.
I don't know, Coach Davis, man. I want to get footage from last game in Tucson, man. I saw Coach Back. Coach Back is always dancing around that line, but he gets more grace than our coaches do. So it's fine. It's fine, Coach. But I mean, he was walking to give Kenji the play, and the official bumped into him. So on me, that's on the official, right? It's in between plays too. You know what I mean? It's not during a play. So I don't know, man. IFL officiating is kind of questionable at times. I think they do a great job overall. And I watch the officiating tape every week too. So I make sure we're not being done in a certain way as well. But my picks for tonight. So I got San Antonio beating Tucson, man. I think Tucson is terrible. I don't think Tucson's a good team at all. I think that defense is your boy Kaiser, man. I mean, he's doing what he does, but that defense is okay. That offense is below average for me. Tucson is not special. San Antonio is not good either, but San Antonio defense will make more stops. And I think San Antonio will beat Tucson July 4th.
Pull it up on the screen. Pull the games up on the screen.
Well, there's only one IFL then, but I mean,
yeah,
we can, two actually. Never mind. Okay, so. All right, so obviously, we beat Iowa, San Antonio, and then I got Bay Area beating San Diego. What about you, Coach?
I got if San Antonio do what they supposed to do, they should win. I'm looking for an upset out there with San Diego.
Really?
Yeah. Bay Area is the powerhouse, but I think San Diego can surprise them. It just depends on what Nate Davis and that he do, and then that defense do.
Let's go to Friday night. I want to talk to you about Vegas and the quarterback situation. Obviously, Vegas, they went ahead and benched Jerome Johnson a couple weeks ago. I think Jerome Johnson is hurt. I'm no doctor, But Jerome Johnson looks like he's been hurt all season, and he's not as mobile. I mean, he's still mobile, but like in the beginning of the year, he looked hurt. And Jaden Delore came in and balled out. So Jaden Delore, that's his show. I think Jaden Delore should win Rookie of the Year, or should be a candidate. I think Kenji Bahar from Mass should win Rookie of the Year, and Jaden Delore is a close second. But who do you got winning that Vegas Bay Area game on Friday night?
I take that back. Bay Area gonna win tonight against Monday against San Diego. And I think Vegas can upset Bay Area on Friday night.
I mean, Coach Davis needs that win, man. They need it. I mean, they're desperate for a win over a big time team like that. So that would be huge for them. But I think Jaden Delore, man, I mean, he's such a baller. I've been watching him since college. He's a really good ball player. I'm happy that Coach Davis got him in the IFL. But no, man, Coach B, I appreciate you. You know, it's been a great show. It's been a lot of fun talking indoor football. You know, I'm happy we got a win. I'm happy we're back in the playoffs. But yeah, Coach Davis, I'll be seeing you in Tucson hopefully in a month and a half. So,
Coach Davis, get with us. We'd love to have you on the show anytime. Please get with us ASAP.
We gotta get Coach Davis on here soon. But no, he's cool. But yeah, no, I mean, appreciate you, Coach. I got this tonight's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun watching Duluth and the Ozarks. Can the Ozarks pull it out, man? Can the Lunkers upset Tony O'Neill and them? I don't think so, but I think it should be a competitive game. I think
It's gonna be a good game. I ain't gonna lie, Matt Rush is the X factor. That's what I think it is.
Matt Rush is, but I don't know if he's a quarterback full time. I think he
don't need to be the quarterback no more. They got Cooper. So
they're still playing.
Yeah, but I'm saying Rush is a better asset at running back or wide receiver. And you get him out in space and one-on-one, then that's where it changes the game, man.
Yeah, good luck to you, Coach. You know, I wish you the best of luck. Obviously, you're the one calling the shots on the field. You know, I'm just an analyst for now, but, you know, I mean, you guys put in the work. I have a lot of respect. But just know once I get in the game, man, you're about to get that belt too. So best believe. But I feel really good. Don't stop. Yeah. All right. But no, I feel good, man. Duluth and Ozarks, man. I got Duluth winning by 25, like I said earlier.
25?
Oh yeah. Duluth. I mean, Ozarks has a terrible pass rush. But I would love to see. I think if Ozarks wins, yeah, San Antonio tonight. But it's going to be fun. Tonight's going to be a good night. But I don't know, man. NAL, Coach, you got any thoughts on the NAL before we wrap up?
I think they might surprise us with a few more teams. I've been hearing speculations out of the AF1 that St. Louis franchise is coming. So
my last topic for today is I want you to predict how many teams each league is going to have next year. We'll start with you, Coach, and then I'll go.
NAL got how many right now?
I believe they're up to 10.
But I think a few is going to drop off. I think Idaho and Shreveport might drop off. So that leaves them at 8. But they add West Texas and Pueblo. That gives them back to 10. I say 12 for the NAL. TAL, I think they probably will add one more franchise. IFL, I think they expand to 2 more franchises next year. AF1, I think they bring in 4 to 5 new franchises.
AF1, I got adding 6 more teams. I got them losing 1 or 2. So I think AF1 will be around 14 by next year. IFL, they're going to add South Carolina, I keep hearing. So South Carolina, I think Orlando will be added. and then Duke City. I don't know if the Texas team will come back, but I think the IFL will add about 5 teams next year, Coach. I think the IFL will get up to 19 to 20 teams. And then the NAL, NAL should be 11, I would say. But it could go down to 8. It depends on how the certain things shake out. But the IFL, I'm most interested to see if the IFL can get to 20. I know, the goal is to get 24 by 2027, I think. But 24 would be nice, so we could have divisions. But we need more East Coast teams, man. We travel.
When I played in the IFL, we had 24 teams in the league.
But how long was that sustainable for, right?
2 years, and then it dropped.
He's also a team in Alaska back then, right? So times have changed. But I don't know, man. I think IFL, we need more East Coast teams. I've been saying this for so long. We travel the most out of any team in the country. We have a lot of travel. And the fact that we're still able to put a winning record together, despite our guys having to sit on airplanes for so long, is so impressive. I'm proud of our guys that we traveled around the country and we still, put belt to ass. So it's impressive to me. So we need more East Coast teams. I want to see that Buffalo team is not happening, by the way. I'm telling you all this right now. Buffalo will not come next year. I think that Buffalo.
Just to throw this out there, Coach Davis, if you hiring a coach next year, I'm looking, trying to get on that Vegas staff next year.
Yeah, you went with quality control. Yeah, quality control for sure. I think Coach Davis is doing a good job out there. But I hope they add another team too. I heard a Washington team. I heard the rumor about adding a team near Seattle in the IFL. So if that's legit or not, but we got to see, man. But I'm gonna wrap this up.
Do you think that will work, Seattle in the IFL?
Yeah, for sure. I do.
Geographically, though, like I think when we, one thing I do think the league started to doing when they adding teams is geographically beneficial to the other teams and travel. I think when you adding teams, your main goal should be cutting cost of travel for all the teams in your league. So
I think
find cities that's close.
Team. I think Arizona put out 4 teams. I think there's enough space in Arizona to add another team. Add one more team in Arizona. Add 4 in Arizona. Add one more Florida team and 2 more Florida teams. Add a team in South Carolina. Add a team in Atlanta that I heard about. And then add a team in like
Tampa Bay needs a team. That's a good area to put a team.
New Jersey would be a great area to put a team in. And another underrated area.
When you go to the New York, New Jersey area, the cost of living and the cost of stuff is way higher than it would be to put it in a Florida or somewhere else. So you got to think about that too. When them Jersey flights and all them without there, those budgets are way higher than any other budget in the league. Now you're talking going into the 2 and the 3 millions to run a team in those areas.
Right, and I agree with that, Coach. I agree. I think it's all about regional fit, but again, I appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll be back next week. We'll probably got to get Coach Davis on in a couple of weeks. We'll have probably Coach. I'm gonna try to get Coach Manas on next week. IFL Coach of the Year, in my opinion.
My God.
But I think what Coach Manas has done, if we make the playoffs, he's my vote for Coach of the Year. But we'll do a whole thing with him, and excited to have him on. And then, we'll try to get the best owner in the industry, Jawadi Team, on here soon as well. Get my boy Juan on. But now, Coach, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Man, just happy Independence Weekend to all the teams out there, all the organizations. Thank you for tuning in to our show. Hit the like button, share our show. Make sure you get more people tuned in every week. We're trying to get those subscribers up. This is, I think, the best podcast platform for all arena networks, indoor and arena style. So run it up. We're here for you. We are for you. We ain't hard to find.
Yes, sir. And I see your comment, Coach Davis. Man, I got to support my boys to the end. I've been to every home game in franchise history, man. I'm Pirates through and through. So I don't hide that. But no, man. It's all love, man. Coach Davis, man. I mean everything, man. I mean, I really have seen Jawad. I've gotten a front row seat, and I like I said, man, no one has to go through what Jawad goes through. He has to go through the mud to get it, and a lot of people don't have to do what he does.
I'm starting to think Jawad do got you on the payroll.
No, I'm serious. Like I see the talent he brings in, and it's not even talent, man. It's scheme fit. He finds if we need a 6'2" DB, he'll go out and get the best 6'2" DB in the country. And so, I mean, we should. I mean, I like I said, man. I know I might sound like a homer, but I really mean it. I really believe it. Like if Coach Manas makes the playoffs and we win out, he should be Coach of the Year for sure. Coming in mid-season, implementing a new scheme. It's unbelievable. So he's done so much good for us. But I mean, Coach Davis, you should definitely be in that Coach of the Year conversation too. So it'll probably come down to you and Coach Manas. But yeah, I like Coach Manas for Coach of the Year. And then I think Jawad needs to get executive honors too. Jawad doesn't get yeah, definitely we should have a conversation. For sure, man. Got a lot of respect for what you do, but I hope my guy Phoenix Bros down there in Vegas gets some playing time too. That's my dog. So I like my boy Phoenix down there. But yeah, we should do Coach B before we leave. Who's your MVP and offensive player in the IFL?
Ooh, that's tough, bro. That's tough.
So
give me 3 nominations to pick from, and I'll pick from them 3.
Yeah, MVP, there's no conversation. It's Max Myler, in my opinion. Max Myler is MVP in the IFL.
Who are the 2 runner-ups for you?
2 runner-ups. I would say Max Myler. Number 2 would be, I want to say TJ, but because he hasn't played, he won't be playing. Yeah, Tomas for sure. But Nate Davis, he has to be high on that list. And then I was saying
I was gonna go with TJ Edwards, but that injury, that's why I said it makes it tough. I ain't gonna lie.
Let's see. Don Sneed. Don Sneed should definitely be up there. Yeah, see, Nate Davis. I mean, look at those stats. Don Sneed, too.
One thing I'm gonna say, Nate Davis always put up numbers. It's never been a season he didn't put up numbers.
Josh Jones, too, another one.
I need Nate Davis to win in the big games in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, Nate Davis is allergic in the playoffs. I mean, his record in the playoffs is not impressive, but it's what he has around him too. He's a great quarterback. I like Nate Davis, but my rookie of the year, man, is Kenji Bahar from Mass. Honestly, I think what Kenji Bahar has been able to put together, if he's even considered a rookie. But yeah, he's my rookie of the year. My offensive player of the year is Naquan Murray, my boy Naquan, and I think honestly Keon Williams from Iowa should win offensive player of the year. I think he's a dog. But coach of the year, I already said it, and then I'll put my whole first team out. But on defense, I would say I want to talk about Claude Davis for a second. Claude Davis is a stud. What he does at his age, man, he's like 45, and he still puts up numbers. So he's definitely a first-team D lineman for me. EBs, I would do Claude Davis for D-line. Another guy off the top of my head would be Malik Jones from Jacksonville. I think Malik Jones is one of the best DBs in the country. I love Malik Jones in Jacksonville. But, yeah, I'll put a list together for next show. I'll put my first team, and you do the same, Coach B. Put together.
We can do it.
But yeah, I'm gonna end this right now, man. Appreciate everyone watching, and remember, man, go support the network, subscribe, show us some love, and let's go Pirates, man. We're about to oil them up next week. Let's go.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer.